Hey, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, T-Sippers. Good morning. There's a lot going on already. Mm. So they're already trying to manipulate with that drug distribution. They wanted it to word it a particular way versus just coming on out with the truth. Lord. Let's go. Shout out to T-C. Dang it. Hey, Cynthia.
What is actually going on?
I'm trying to set it up.
Give me a second. Let me put my headphone on. You guys, it was super dramatic in court, though, and I don't see how Diddy's team is actually going to survive this. What actually happened? It was incredible. Okay, so it started off like any other Tuesday morning. We're in court. We're ready for the verdict. We know that the jury had a question. What was the question? It was on the distribution RICO charge. Now, just to give you a little background on that, the distribution RICO charge is the second to last charge on the RICO kit. So there's predicate crimes, which are the underlying crimes that go into make a RICO. He's been charged on about 8 things. The RICO is the second to last thing. And then there's the other charges, okay? What's that say? Well, it could mean nothing. Or it could mean that the jury might actually decide today. Why can it mean that? Because, well, think about it. Unless they're jumping around the jury street, and they could be, because they did have that little bust up with juror number 25 not following instructions, out of this and the third. It could actually be that little bust up. The whole point of the matter is, okay? Hey, what's up, mama? The whole point of the matter is, with that little bust up, they could be jumping around saying, okay, we can't agree on RICO, let's go around. Or they could be going point by point by point, and that means that they are halfway and that we may have a verdict today. Okay, so that's how we're walking into the courtroom, okay? Now, what is the question they sent out yesterday that the judge told the defense and the prosecution? Let me know what your thoughts are, because we have to answer this. They asked a very specific question. Why do I keep harping on very specific? Because the judge brought this up when he literally destroyed Mark Agnifilio and Diddy's team in court. And all they had to say is, we're preserving our objection. And Diddy's team and Judge, what was it? They were like, we're preserving our objection. And Judge Aaron was like, you do that. Let's move on. I'll tell you what, he is tired of Diddy's team, okay? Because they're always coming with the hoo-hoo-ha. Can y'all just please play it straight? But I get it. Y'all are trying to gaslight and con a nation. I've said it before. Diddy cannot win on the facts. He can only win on legal technicalities. And baby, he is working hard to get a legal technicality. Okay, so where are we at, okay? So they come in. What was this question the jury asked yesterday? If you guys didn't watch my live from yesterday, shame on you, but I'll bring you up to court. They said, listen, you need to have, hold on, what did they say? Oh, they said in terms of distribution, this was on, I believe, page 36 and 37. In terms of distribution, lines 1 to 3. If the person asks for drugs and you give them drugs, is it still distribution? Now, I said, hell yes, but this is why people think that Diddy didn't really do anything, right? Because at the end of the day, the fact that just because people are willing to break the law does not mean that you can break the law. Just because people are willing to engage in effery does not mean that effery is good. Just because you willingly agree to take drugs does not mean that the person that gave it to you did not break the law. Case in point, remember what happened with the guy from Friends, Matthew Perry? He willingly went to his dealer. He willingly bought the drugs. He asked for it. He chased them down. He begged for the drugs. But at the end of the day, are the dealers not facing charges for selling it to them or giving it to them, even if they gave it for free? It doesn't matter that you ask. It doesn't matter. That does not take away your liability. Again, it's like saying, I asked, you know, can a drug dealer say, they asked me for it, so what's the big deal? No, you can't. So I already knew the answer to that, but I still went to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT said the same exact thing. So that was the question. The judge was like, we need the instructions. Why do you need the instructions so much? It's simple. Because you don't want to disturb the jury. You don't want to lead the jury anyway. You don't want to mislead the jury. You don't want to put your finger on the scale. So you have to be very careful in what you tell the jury, because you don't want to make it seem like you're co-signing either way, especially the court. It's ground for appeal, but also it messes with the fundamental thing of justice. Okay, so that's where we came in, right? So they stand up.
So they was trying to manipulate
it. Okay, hold on. Let me get my thing out and let me get a pen so I can keep track of what's going on. Hold on one second. I need a pen. Where's my pen? Oh, it's in my book. Okay. All right, guys. I'm ready. All right. So, still no pen. What is going on this morning? Still no pen. Hold on, guys. Come in, okay? And listen, Mark Agnefield gets up and he does his best in the heat of the night to catch a predator. He's like, look, Your Honor, right? You've said before, you shouldn't look at the instructions of law. And we honestly think that we should basically tell the jury that if they have any questions, look to the jury instructions. We should not direct them anywhere. We should not give them a yes or no answer. They are to look at the instructions as the law and no more. Now here's the thing. Some people were nodding along in court. I already caught the thing. Mark, when juries ask specific questions, you do not tell them to look to the law. They're coming back and they're telling you, we've looked to the law. We do not understand the law. We need your help.
It kind of is self-explanatory how they wrote it out.
To Marie for my little fan. We need your help understanding the law. And because we do not understand the law, we are asking a question.
But a lot of people don't understand the law, I guess.
And also when I sat there, I was
y'all,
like,
please come in, hitting the like button, double tapping your screen as you enter in. Please.
Listen, he said, we think that they should be referred back to the entire statute, right? Instead of just answering their question. Judge Aaron had had enough. He looked at them and said, did you look at the questions the jury asked? Yes, Your Honor, I looked at the question. No, and Judge Aaron was like, no. Did you look? And he was fed up. He said, no. Did you look at the question the jury asked? Yes, Your Honor, we looked. Did you? Where is it? Right? And he said, oh, hold on, Your Honor, we're pulling it right now. Judge Aaron said, he said, look at the instructions right now in front of me. Hold on, Your Honor, we're pulling it up. Judge Aaron said, you don't need to pull it up. We have a paper copy for you to look at. No, Your Honor, we're pulling it up right now. He literally said, I repeated again, and he sounded pissed. You don't need to pull it up. You have a paper copy. The court prepared for you so you could look at it, right? Right? And he said, there is no basis for your assertion that this is going to in any way confuse the jury at all. You're asking the jury to consider the instructions as a whole, right? He said, Mark Agnefield, we have an obligation. I said, oh, let me tell you something. If there's one thing Judge Aaron takes seriously, it's obligations. He takes obligations seriously. He literally said, we have an obligation to provide direct answers to the direct questions that the jury's asked us, okay? The jury asked us a very specific question that you can see on the paper that the court prepared to you, that we asked you yesterday to get an answer over, okay? They asked a very specific answer. And now you're telling me that you don't think that we should actually say anything and we should tell them to refer to the statute. He said, I am not leaving this jury out to sea. He literally said, you are asking me to leave this jury out to sea, okay? And Mark Agnifilo during this, it's like, well, Yana, we think with precedents, we think with this. Judge Aaron said, let me show you why I'm actually a federal judge at my young age. He said, yes, and this is consistent with U.S. v. Cummings and the Second Circuit. This is precedent. This is canon law. You cannot be serious. You're really up here, and I think it was so insulting what Mark Agnifilo
you're very
was doing to
insulting.
Judge Aaron, because Judge Aaron is not an idiot. He is not stupid. He has been exceptionally
tried to
lenient.
Hey, Cecilia and Rico.
He wants to be fair because Diddy could be going to jail for the rest of his
Very
life.
misleading.
So of course he wants to be exceptionally fair. But the fact of the matter is that he's consistent with Cummings and the Second Circuit. What are you talking about? Okay? And he said, so the Mark Agnifilo, literally, he gets a little feisty. He wants the judge to know you ain't going to be talking to me out here in this jury. And I was thinking the same thing because I was like, Mark, Judge Aaron is like, he was talking respectfully, but he still was talking. He was talking, right? And Mark Agnifilo seemed like he took an issue at it. He was like, you ain't gonna be talking to me like that in this courtroom. And he said, well, Judge, he said, well, actually, I don't think, he said, I don't think that my instruction, because basically he told Judge Aaron to say, don't do anything, just let them figure it out. You want them confused, you want them not to understand the law, but did I not say, actually, that Diddy can't win on the facts? He can only win on confusion. He can only win on people not understanding the law. But the jury is sitting there looking at the law in front of them and instructions for the law. And this is what happens when you can't win on facts, right? So Mark Agnifilo was like, Yana, I don't think it goes too far at all. And he started to go to Part B. Judge Aaron cut him off, and he literally said, and I quote, I don't care. I don't care if you think it goes too far. And he said it and he said, I don't care if you think if it goes too far. Cut him off and said, I don't care if you think this goes too far, right? He raised his voice just a little, not yelling, but for Judge Aaron, who was always very even-tempered, very even-keeled. He is very patient. He doesn't care about the little, like, he's very, very indulgent in the way that keeps the sanctity of the case. You see what I'm saying? When I say indulgent, he's not letting, like, animals run loose, but in a way that makes sure that the defense cannot say that they didn't get a fair bite at the apple, and say that, and leave ample room for the defense to really, really protect his client, right? So anyway, Judge Aaron was like, I don't care if you think if it goes too far. And then he raised his voice just a little. He said, the jury asks a specific question. A specific question that pointed to a specific page and specific lines. They asked a specific question, okay? And you're trying to tell me that we shouldn't provide any kind of guidance? The jury asks, and you don't want us to provide any type of guidance, right? You even want to put in notes that may suggest they look elsewhere without guidance, right? You want them to look at the instructions as a whole? Now, around this time, Maureen Comey jumped up. Your Honor, if I may. I said, oh, yes, say it. She had to call me lean to the side. Your Honor, if I may. He was like, go ahead, counselor, because he was over defense. He cut Mark Agnifilo off and was like, boy, get out of here. Your Honor, if I may. She stood up, and she was second that. And she was like, she seconded that. And she was like, oh, wait, no, forget. I'm jumping ahead of myself. Hold on. Maureen Comey came in a little later. But let's get back to Judge Aaron humiliating Diddy's team, catching them red-handed. Hold on. He said, you're suggesting that they look elsewhere without guidance? And you want them to look at instructions as whole, right? And if you don't want to provide any type of guidance, Maureen Comey is like, that's absolutely right. They may look elsewhere. They do need guidance, right? Judge Aaron wasn't over. He said, I want you to look, right? He said, can you follow my instructions? Mark Agnifilo was like, well, I don't think we should do this. I don't think we should write anything to the jury. He said, I don't care what you think. Can you follow my instructions? His instructions were that you write a little sheet on what you want, like a suggestion for how you want this phrase. He said, can you follow my instructions? Well, I don't think. Can you do it? Right? Oh, Sheila Blankenship, thank you so much for
You need to hold him in
super chat.
contempt of court.
He said,
Hello, everybody
"Can
coming
you
in.
do it, or will you not do it?" It was a little tortured. Can you do it? Can you follow my instructions? Well, Your Honor, can you follow my, Your Honor, can you follow my instruction? Can you follow it, or will you not follow my instructions? Can you follow?
Got
and
deep.
then, well, Your Honor, can you follow my instructions, yes or no? It was a back and forth. Can you follow my instructions back or yes or no?
Hold his ass in
Finally, Mark
contempt.
Agnifilo realized, baby, this is the man that might sentence Diddy. You need to calm down. Comment. Sit your ass down, Mark, before Judge Aaron sits you down.
Go
right?
sit down.
Christopher Ridge, you better sit yourself down before he sits you, right? So he was like, can you this and that? And finally, Mark Agnifilo was like, I mean, yes, Your Honor, I can do anything Your Honor rules. I can do it, you know? And then he said, then follow my instructions, right? Then Mark Agnifilo says, well, Your Honor, may I just say, right? And the whole time Diddy's sitting there looking like, right? He is in a kerfuffle because I've never seen Judge Aaron he gets tired of them. Again, it wasn't rude, it wasn't insightful, but it was very, very firm.
Direct.
Very firm. And that whole thing, I've never seen somebody read somebody down without raising their voice. And, well, he put inflection in his voice, but it wasn't raised. It wasn't drama. But, baby, he let him know, this is my house. This is my courtroom. You can sit down before I sit you down. Again, can you do it or will you not? Can you do it? Can you follow my instructions, yes or no? Oh, Your Honor, I can't. And they were going back and forth for a minute. Finally, Mark Agnifilo said, I can't. Then follow him. Well, Your Honor, may I just say...
He in front selling
Judge Aaron
T-shirts.
interrupted him and said, no, you may not.
Oh, wow. It went down in the courtroom.
He said, no, you may not. What you are suggesting is misleading to the jury. It is misleading to the jury. Judge Aaron said it out of his mouth. Your suggestion that you were trying to go is going to mislead the jury. Going to mislead the jury. When they said that, I was like, Diddy was sitting there looking like, because they know this is one of the predicate. If they're agreeing to this one thing, they only need one other case, one other thing off that RICO predicate list, and baby, they got you. I was sitting there like the little, you know that little meme where it's like the little Gumby that's like, I was here for it. Yes. He must not have got his morning coffee because he was tired of them. He literally said out his mouth, the instructions you're saying is going to mislead the jury. It's going to mislead. You're suggesting that I put in instructions to mislead the jury, to confuse them about the law when they have asked me a very specific question. And by the way, Judge Aaron has a duty, an obligation, and the jury has a right. When they ask a very specific instruction on what's going on, he must give a specific, honest answer. He has a duty and an obligation. The jury has a right to that. Mark Agnifilo thought he could get up in the Southern District of New York courthouse and literally turn things around. It actually did not work, okay? Now, he said this is misleading to the jury. Now, around this time is when Comey stands up, and she did her Comey lean. Your Honor, if we may, right? And I told y'all, every time you see her dip to the side and speak like this, and when she has this kind of sing-song quality, Your Honor, if I may, you know she is about to go in. Get this, right? She pushed back hard. She said, Your Honor, I think you are wholly 100% right. That's right, Comey. That's right. Support the judge. Support the judge. When somebody is like helping you win, you better support them. But the funny thing is, when I say helping them win, no impropriety at all. I've said it once and I've said it a lot. The people that are pro-Diddy are going off of feelings, not facts. As
Facts.
much as they like to say that women are emotional, they are the most emotional glazers going off of feeling. I feel that can't be. Well, I don't think. Shut up. Like, shut up, right? But with the facts, the government has the facts. What is the facts? The law. You can argue everything else, but you cannot argue the law, and you cannot argue the way you communicate with juries, and you cannot argue this type of thing. There's too much precedent. This goes to the core of what a jury trial is. And Diddy's team is still trying to throw sand and, look over here. They're trying to do all this stuff. And at the end of the day, like I said, Diddy can't win on facts. He can only win on people not understanding the law. And Mark Agnifilo was trying to create an atmosphere and encourage Judge Aaron to help mislead the jury. Judge Aaron's thing, misleading the jury with a statement of law. We're going to get into that in a second. Now, also, let's also not forget, if it was me, and I know I'm not a federal judge, so what do I have to speak? I can see how Judge Aaron might have even been a little bit offended. You're talking to these people. You're talking to Judge Aaron like he is an idiot. I hate people that mistake kindness and hospitality for weakness, but a lot of people do. There's a lot of ignorant people there that don't understand that just because somebody is kind to you, just because they are hospitable, just because they are indulgent of you, does not mean they're stupid. This is just the way they choose to operate in the world, but that doesn't mean it's stupid. So for Mark Agnifilo to, one, try to suggest, to encourage and argue that Judge Aaron let down his obligation to the jury and to the United States, because he's in a trial trying to get justice for a U.S. citizen.
I need for y'all to double tap the screen. Get the likes up. It's 268 people in here. I need well over 100 likes. Get them up. I'll be back.
or for U.S. citizens either way, right? U.S. v. Combs. For you to suggest that he do something that goes against precedents, it goes against jurisprudence, it goes against the hallmark and the benchmark of what a jury trial is, and for you to suggest something like that, it's like y'all trying to talk me into like robbing a bank. That is illegal. And for you to suggest that, and then when I say no, you try to stand there and be like, and argue and hit me with the who, hit me with the, and hit me with the who, what?
Cash, you want to leave?
Yeah, at a certain point, it's like, do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I don't know what I'm doing? Do you think because I literally gave you guys grace and gave you room to completely defend your client to the very end, do you think I'm an idiot that you can just now play in my face? And when I call you out and play in my face, you try to argue with me on court law and precedents? There's no precedents. Shut up. Okay, anyway, so Maureen Comey was like, Your Honor, if I may, and he was like, yes, counselor, what is it, right? She said, I believe, Your Honor, you are 100% right and 100% just in your reading of the situation. She said, we need to isolate, according to the jury question, the distribution element, right? We need to isolate the distribution element. That is what they're asking about. They're not asking about anything else. They are asking, oh, hey, what's up? We need to isolate the distribution element. And that's what the jury's asking, right? And the judge was like, and I completely agree with the prosecution, like Ms. Comey has said. And Ms. Comey was like, literally, because Comey's in front, and the defense is to that, like Ms. Comey said, and Maureen was like, like Ms. Comey said, right? So Mark Philly was like, yes, Your Honor, we understand, but let it be known, we do not waive our objection. He said, Judge Aaron literally looked at him. You know when somebody, hey, Angie Ankowski? Oh, I'm sorry, Angie Johnson. Thank you. Oh my God, thank you for the super chat, girl. I will be getting some drinks with that later. Thank you. But judging I ate Thai food at like 11 o'clock at night. And the sodium is kicking my butt right now. I need to eat all the watermelon, all the fresh fruit I can, and drink all the water. So yes, I will be getting cocktails, smoothies. Only in New York City is a smoothie the same price or more expensive than a cocktail. But you do what you got to do. Thank you so much, Angie. But anyway, there he was like, Your Honor, well, we don't waive our objection. Judge Aaron was so tired of him. You know when you're tired of someone, because I do this. When I'm tired of people, I'm cursing you out in my head. So I'm usually really quick with my responses, but when I'm cursing you out in my head, I'll miss a second or two. Judge Aaron, who was usually he was just looking at Mark Agnafilio, yeah, no, we want to preserve our objection. And you could literally count 1, 2, 3. It was about 3 slow blinks, and he was like, that's fine. I know he was cursing him out in his head, right? Now, why did they why did they not choose to waive the objection? Because Shapiro wants to, hey, what's going on, Tito? How are you? Yeah, Tito, what's up? Huh? Yeah, I did. Yeah. You have a good day, too. He was asking me if I saw Janice Combs. There was something that went on in the court with Janice Combs, too. I'm going to tell y'all in a second, okay? But let me just get through this, and I'll tell you what went on with Janice Combs, okay? So, why did they preserve the objection? Because Shapiro wants the objection for an appeal. Every note that's passed, everything that happens, every note the jury passed, and every answer back in, and also every objection now is going on the record for an appeal. Everything is going on the record for an appeal. Now, hear me out with this one, all right? A lot of people are so
Meek, I'm doing what everybody else do. If you have a problem with it, beat your feet.
Stupid and dumb, but I understand.
Don't come over here starting no shit.
So, a lot of people are so misinformed about the law that they don't understand what the appeal does. To get an appeal is actually a very complicated thing, okay? Which is why a lot of people can't get their cases to get to appeal or a judgment overturned. You must show that there was a grave procedural error. Procedural error is not about the facts. It's a procedural error that shows that law's rules. So somewhere the judge, because he's the court, did not follow the rules. There was an objection he didn't listen to. He didn't come back with a ruling on the objection. There's something that the judge didn't do. That, if you can show clear procedural error or something in the law that didn't happen, then that can be a basis to get a ruling overturned on appeal. The second way is if there is some type of evidence that was not presented, that was
Hey,
withheld.
Purple Flower.
There was something that happened. Maybe a witness couldn't speak, blah, blah, blah. And it was something that was central to the case. That could be grounds for appeal. But when you go into that, it's a two-start process, okay? One, it had to be some evidence that was withheld, wasn't allowed to be seen, this and that, that could have gone to the heart of the case, the heart of the matter, right? Like if you're like, I want an appeal because y'all said I was wearing a pink shirt when I shot JFK and I was actually wearing a black shirt. That's not enough for appeal because people are like, it doesn't matter what shirt you were wearing when you shot. The point is, the part of the case is whether you went bang bang to JFK. Now, hear me out, okay? When, I love the way this tree looks in the background. Sorry, I'm like transfixed. I love greenery. Anyway, and I'm trying to get a better look at the tree. But I'm concentrating on what I'm telling y'all too. But when you actually go to the heart of the case, let's just say you get something that goes to the heart of the case. Great. You also need to prove that a reasonable jury or reasonable judges under the circumstances, a reasonable jury under the circumstances would have found you not guilty if they had got that information. What as appeal goes, listen, going back to the JFK thing, well, you know, you said I was wearing a purple shirt when I bang JFK. I was actually wearing black.
Okay, y'all, please hit double tap your screen and hit the like button.
So when JFK was bang bang, there is no way in the world you could have ever got me because I was wearing a black shirt off the coast of Bermuda. Do you see how that goes? It literally shows that there is no way at all I could have done it. Now that is something that goes to the heart of the matter. And if you went and you, whatever reason, that evidence was not presented and nobody knew that I was wearing a black shirt off the coast of Bermuda, that goes to the heart of the matter, and it's something that if the jury had known, a reasonable jury would have found me not guilty. There might be a lot of things that Diddy's team was like, oh, that didn't happen, you didn't tell me, I didn't know. But would a jury have found you not guilty if they heard this evidence? Maybe, maybe not. So all these people saying, oh, they saving it for appeal, they won't be on an appeal. Do you realize that most appeals are denied, but even if you do get it granted, they find that there is no grounds to overturn the conviction. Again, law is like a relationship. You can ask for what you want, but who knows if you're actually going to get it. But you can always ask for what you want.
Right.
So that's why Shapiro asks for an appeal. She wants an appeal. They want to spend Diddy's money. Baby, I would do it too if I had the money. And
How long have I been telling y'all that what you think and how you feel does not supersede the law?
Because they are, you don't need permission to ask. You ask, and then they decide on whether you have grounds. But some people think that because they are allowed to ask, then that means that, oh, you must have grounds. No, you just ask for whatever. Even the way, like, there's this dumb theory going around that Diddy's team, like, the government is playing with the jurors and all this other. What does the government have to do with the juror number 25? What is the government? They keep trying to put the government in the middle of everything. And I even saw like Justin Combs retweeted something that was like some. And I wouldn't put it past Diddy for his kids to keep them in the dark and for them really not to understand what the legal process is and not understand exactly what's going on with Diddy and how much they have him dead to rights. I think that's probably why KK, D-Rock, and all of them aren't talking because they think Diddy's case is a lot stronger. And if Diddy's paying for all their attorneys, maybe. But then again, he paid for Jane's attorney. And I think her attorney's name is Leslie, Attorney Leslie Esquire. And didn't seem very pro-Diddy to me anyway, right? Listen. Shapiro wants to appeal, but what are you going to appeal? Mark Agnifilio really suggested to the judge, don't give the jury any guidance, right? So anyway, by this time, Judge Aaron was like, yeah, go ahead and do what you want. Like, preserve it on record, right? Oh, and then anyway, then he literally turned to Comey and he was like, also, counselor, can you collect, I think there's 2 missing emails. Could you collect those emails and make sure that they are entered into the docket, right? They said, absolutely, because Maureen Comey was sitting there doing her lean like, absolutely, Your Honor. I got you. We'll have you by the end of the day. And then Tenny Garagos jumps up and she was like, Your Honor, also, there's a few emails that we have that we're going to make sure we sent them to the prosecution for them to check. And as soon as they give us the okay, we're going to enter them into the docket too. And the judge was like, yeah. But I see what Tenny Garagos was doing. She was trying to smooth things over.
Hi, David and Marcy.
Mark Agnophilia.
We are listening to what happened this morning in court.
Why he was so
the defense tried to mislead the jury.
Is trying to run this like a freight train moving toward a verdict, okay? Mark wasted the court's time. He basically told the court, do nothing, when the court said, I'm not going to do nothing. I'm doing something. And I want your side, and I want the prosecution to write up how you think I should phrase this. Now, I can take it as a suggestion, I don't, but I want to give you guys equal time. He told them to do something. Mark came back and said, how about we do nothing? That wasn't an option. The option was, we are doing something. Tell me what you think that something should be. All right? Now, then they's like, Your Honor, we really think our proposal, he cut him off. How about this? I reject the defense's proposal.
Ooh.
The revision that the defense is trying to get me to do would confuse the jury. Again, what was that revision? They wanted them to take them back to the whole statute when they were asking specific questions. He said the revision would 100% confuse the jury, okay? He said, so then he was like, Driscoll, and Driscoll is like their Harry Potter of case law. Like, this guy is on it. He's on the defense side. So when he stood up, I was like, oh shit, don't tell me he found the case. But guess what, spoiler alert, he did not. Driscoll couldn't even save this, right? He said, he's like, Your Honor, if we can just get one thing on the record. He was like, what? Judge Aaron was like, what is it? He said, well, if you look at U.S. v. Wallace, there's a citation that since sole possession, his transfer would violate distribution because he only had sole.
Hold on.
That's sole possession. Listen, and he said. So then the judge interrupted Driscoll because he was tired.
They're wanting to review the testimony of 2 people. Hold on.
Right? One of the things that Camille Vasquez said in her closing argument was, everyone who came forward as a witness for Amber Heard was paid by her. So how can you have sort of an unbiased witness that can just come forward and testify as to the possibility of Combs not committing these acts? Not necessarily, them saying he's a great guy, but did he commit these acts? So that could have been a difficult point for them to do. The second point could have been, even if they had gotten those witnesses, they would have been subject to cross-examination by the prosecution. So maybe there were employees or people in his circle that had, positive things to say to help the defense's case, but on cross-examination, more things could have been revealed that might have been more harmful to the actual defense. And also the third reason is, you had mentioned this before, Sierra, it is the prosecution's burden to prove this case. So, Combs is not required to testify. They're not required to produce any witnesses. What they have to show the defense in order to win is that the prosecution has not met its burden to prove these crimes. And we saw that again happening with a lot of the arguments they made that, these acts were all consensual, that, these were long-term relationships. Again, just trying to chip away at what the prosecution is arguing. So I think there's a couple reasons why they didn't put forward any possible witnesses.
There's a lot to think about here, right? I don't know exactly what's going on in the mind of the defense and their case. I don't know the prosecution, and I don't know the jurors either. But if I was somehow able to have a magic wand or one of those, what's the word I'm looking for? Viewers, drop it in. A crystal ball, I would want to know what the jurors are thinking of all people. And that's really the question on all of our minds, right? By the way, we have 13,000 people who are watching our live stream right now. Comment and tell us where you're watching from. I love to see. I know that we have viewers all over the world, in fact, not just the country. So I love to see all of that. And I've got another one too. This is from Firefly 2723. Is it too late for a plea? Elizabeth, there was a plea deal that was offered right at the top of all of this. We could have foregone this entire trial,
Absolutely.
but the team said no to it. So I guess this is a two-parter. Why do you think they said no? And is it too late now for a plea?
Yeah, great question. So it would be too late for a plea now. Jury deliberations have began. The jury is deliberating as to what the possible verdict could be. So he had a chance to enter his plea. He pled not guilty, so that time has passed. And then the second thing is, why would he not plead guilty? So I always wonder with certain decisions, who was sort of influencing the decision? Is it his legal team or is it him? When he chose not to testify, was that really his legal team convincing him, okay, this is not a great idea? Because I could imagine someone like Sean Combs would think, okay, I'm going to get up on that stand, testify, I'm going to prove everyone wrong, and maybe his legal team dissuading him. Again, this is all speculation. But in terms of not pleading guilty, we don't know, who influenced that decision. I think the reason is that largely it was him possibly believing, I could disprove these charges. This is not what happened. I have enough to show that this was all consensual or whatever the fact may be. So it could have been just down to him saying, I refuse to plead guilty to this. It could, possibly be his team also encouraging that and saying, we can disprove what the prosecution is saying. But of course, ultimately the decision of whether to plead guilty or not is up to the client with the attorneys advising him. So I think the main biggest reason is someone like Combs, who's again larger than life personality, has gotten allegedly away with a lot, within his career, could have the standing of saying, I can disprove these charges, I'm not pleading guilty.
You brought up a really important point there in that it's up to the defendant, Sean Combs, in all of this to decide most of it. I mean, I'm sure he's discussing with his defense team saying, should I take the plea? What are the pros and cons in all of this? But again, to your point, Elizabeth, it's up to him which way he wants to go, guilty or not guilty. It's up to him if he wants to testify. So really, Sean Combs has this dream team of his own, let's say, that is helping him and kind of saying, here's what we plan to do, here's what it is, but he's really the one calling the shots, as it should be for the defendant. So a lot of what we're doing is a collaboration. It's got to be with Diddy and his team. Now I have another question. This one is from Peggy O. How can transcripts be questionable? Give the jury whatever they want. And I'm going to toss to you for this one, Elizabeth, and ask you about this, because for those of you who are just joining us, we broke in for live coverage right now because there has been a jury question during deliberations, and they asked for transcripts from 2 witnesses. Now, we're not sure which one is which. I tend to agree with Peggy, though, Elizabeth. I mean, these jurors can ask for the transcripts, right? I mean, that's helpful in their deliberations, right?
Absolutely. They can ask for transcripts. They can ask to see certain portions of evidence again. I would be a little worried if they didn't because, again, this is a trial that went on for weeks and weeks. There was a lot of evidence, numerous witnesses, cross-examinations, lots of video evidence that unfortunately wasn't released to the media, but we know just from reading what was going on in the trial that the jurors were allowed to see video evidence of alleged freak-offs, things like that. So jurors are absolutely entitled to go back, ask for certain portions of the transcript to see, what the testimony was, what the evidence was. They can go back and ask those questions. And, it's their obligation to make a fully sound verdict based on, unbiased reasoning. So it makes sense why they're going to go back and ask for certain pieces of evidence again. And I think we're going to see that happen for however long the deliberations take, just because of how long this trial was, how much information was out there, and how much actual physical evidence there was.
And we're nearing 8 hours worth of deliberations at this point. Now, some people this morning when I was on with Chris Stewart were like, what, it's taking so long, I can't believe it. And I tend to feel like we haven't had that long of a deliberation yet. I mean, 8 hours after 8 weeks of, coming to courthouse every day and hearing testimony and seeing evidence and things like that. What do you feel, Elizabeth? Do you think 8 hours is long or short in relation to this trial as a whole?
So I don't think it's long, and I know a lot of people out there will say this is taking too long because they just want to know what the verdict will be. Again, given the amount of evidence and how long this trial has been, remember, it started back in May. We're in July now, officially July 1st. The rule that a lot of attorneys and legal experts say is that for every week of testimony, there should be ideally a day of jury deliberations, or that's how it's typically gone on. So here there's been multiple weeks of deliberations. I do think there's a chance that the jury will render a verdict this week before the 4th of July holiday. So given how many weeks of testimony that is, and again, it's not a hard concrete rule, right? For every week of testimony, there's a day of jury deliberations, but that's typically how we've seen it play out in a lot of these cases, especially high-profile cases where there's a lot at stake for the defendant. So a lot of people are saying this is taking too long, and I understand why. We all want to know what the verdict is, but I don't actually think it's taking super long. I think if they were to come up with a decision before the 4th of July holiday, I think that would actually be fairly quick, but I could see that happening.
I do have a couple more updates for all of you. Number one, that Janice Combs is in the courtroom. We talked about during all of this that defense is conferring with the prosecution. They're talking. We reported on them passing notes. That P. Diddy was escorted into the room with U.S. Marshals, and Janice Combs is in there too. So we have that going. By the way, thank you again to all of our live viewers who have been chatting and writing questions. We have some viewers from as far as the United Kingdom, so all over the world. And a lot of you participated in a poll that we put up. So I want to read the results for you now. This is almost 2,000 of you participated in this. So thank you for that. Here's the question. What do you think the recent juror note about reviewing transcripts signifies? Okay, 51% of you say weighing key testimony. 35% of you say possible confusion. And 12% of you say stall tactic. Interesting, a potential stall tactic. I don't know what I think about that. Elizabeth, I have another question for you from one of our viewers. They were asking, do you think this signifies we're wrapping up, that we're all near the end? Okay, they want to review these court transcripts from some of these witnesses, and then we're kind of nearing the close. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not so sure that we're at the actual close. A lot of times in previous trials, what I've seen is when the jurors do ask to see a key piece of transcript, typically a decision follows pretty closely after, because sometimes that could mean they're just trying to double check something. You know, again, jurors are taking notes all day long from this testimony, but, you know, no laptops, no phones are allowed in the federal court building. So they're taking all these notes ideally by hand. So it's impossible just to get everything. So I think a lot of what we've seen in other cases is juries kind of coming to a decision, they're checking their notes, but they might want, you know, another piece of information that they didn't get in their notes to double check, and then they come to a decision quickly after. It could be that here, but again, it could also go completely the other way, where maybe...
Let's move.
There's so many different theories about, you know, the lengthy deliberation, meaning a one sort of a verdict, or a short one, meaning another one. I mean, I really think it just depends. And as far as this trial, I really just believe that the length of the deliberation and the questions that our jurors are asking show that they're talking things out, that they're doing their job, that they're going through and referring back to jury instructions and talking about things that they felt were really important during the entire case altogether. So I don't know if I can say one way or another which way they're leaning based on the length of deliberation. I don't know, maybe with more questions, we could have a clearer picture.
Well, this is a good follow-up. This is from Cuervo. How many jurors does Combs need on his side to get off?
12. Oh, one.
Oh, this is a great question. All of them. It needs to be unanimous, right? I mean, and there
To get
could be
off.
a mixed verdict here. You know, we could find him not, and when I say the jury could find him not guilty on some, guilty on others. It's called what we call a mixed or split verdict, but it needs to be unanimous. That's kind of the way it goes, and that's why sometimes deliberations take a while, because they need to talk it out. Here's why I feel this way. Here's why you feel that way. We'll talk, you know, where can we meet in the middle? And as you can hear behind me, there's always something going on here at the courthouse, which is why it's so fun to be reporting live. There's really just always something going on, and there's probably a lot of that stuff going on, a lot of discussions going on inside the deliberation room. But again, I do just have to hammer home, it has to be unanimous when they come and return a verdict.
How great is Sierra? We paid those guys to drive by and yell at you just to see if you break form. Did not break a beat. This is Sierra Gillespie, everybody. This is the host of Scandal. All right, so Sierra, stand by. We got more questions coming in. We got more court updates. So first of all, they're going back and forth about what's the material going to be given to the jury after their question. Prosecutor says, we do not think her testimony, meaning Cassie's testimony, about her Instagram post is relevant. We think it's confusing. The judge says, I think it can be included. Both sides have reviewed. Will proceed on this basis. And it looks like they have adjourned on that. Okay, go back to you, Tyler. Got a bunch of questions coming up. This is from Ethelyn Buckmeyer. Did the defense not call any witnesses because they're confident they'll win? Love you, Jesse. Love from the UK. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. So what do you think? Tyler, did the defense not call any witnesses because they're confident that they'll win?
I don't think that was a reason for not calling any witnesses. I think it's more so strategic on this case, and their theme has been the government has overcharged and they have not met their burden of proof by proving each element beyond a reasonable doubt of the charge that Mr. Combs convicted of. They did spend significant effort in cross-examining the government's witnesses, and I believe they strategically felt that anybody they could call would not add to their case and may distract from the burden that the government has to prove to win their case.
Barrett, Rita Connors asks, if Sean Combs is convicted and sent to federal prison, will he always remain in protective custody, or will he be moved to general population? How does it work in the federal system?
Yeah, unless there's an issue that requires him to be in protective custody, I don't think that he would stay in protective custody his whole time. I mean, if you look at other celebrities that have been sentenced, ultimately they do make their way into general custody. So right now, you know, he's being held in sort of a pretrial facility. If he's convicted, he would ultimately be sentenced to, you know, a longer term actual prison. So he could be upstate New York, he could be in North Carolina. I mean, he could really be anywhere. He would likely make an argument that he wants to be sentenced and housed someplace close to family to make it easier to visit. But it's really, you know, up to not only the judge, but also to the Bureau of Prisons to figure out what's the most appropriate facility for him.
The transcripts are going to be sent to the jury by 1 p.m. This is per reporting from CNN. So again, the transcript excerpts regarding the Intercontinental Hotel incident, a big piece of evidence, a big event in this case. Safa, you want a question from Safa? So Safa to Safa. Safa asks, on the jury sheet, it said count 3 transportation Cassie. Is transportation charge only for Cassie and not the dozens of escorts?
So if I can recall the verdict sheet, it does appear that the transportation portion is in connection with Cassie Ventura, and there's also a component that is specific to Jane. It does not sound, at least reviewable based on the verdict sheet, that is with regard to the escorts, although we have heard testimony of that as well, but specific to Cassie Ventura and Jane.
To be clear though, the argument is, right, Sean Combs transported men. They don't even have to be sex workers. Transported men and Cassie, charged for count 3, and Jane for count 5, for the purposes of sex work. So they are a part of it.
Yes, they're definitely a part of it, and we've gotten a ton of testimony that essentially says that these individuals were hired by Mr. Combs or at someone's direction from Mr. Combs to travel to, for example, Turks and Caicos or to New York or to Miami to engage in sexual activity with Cassie Ventura or Jane Doe as well. Traveling across interstate lines, which of course would affect commerce. And so that essentially is the government's argument that he participated in these things, that these sex workers were transported across interstate lines along with Ms. Ventura, and that she was sex trafficked, and essentially substantiating what the government alleges as the transportation to engage in prostitution and the sex trafficking charges.
Tyler, got a question from Old Hollywood Angels. What is a foreperson?
The jury foreperson is essentially the leader and spokesperson for the jury. They're the ones who will read when the court asks, do they have a verdict? The foreperson will be the one to stand up and read that they find Mr. Combs guilty or not guilty. They're in charge of really just taking leadership inside the jury deliberation rooms.
Over to you, Barrett. This is from Just My Opinion. Sorry. If Diddy's found guilty on the charges he's up against, can the judge still let him walk free with a fine?
No. If Diddy's convicted of all of the offenses that he's charged with, he'd be facing a mandatory minimum sentence. So the judge would have no wiggle room as far as the sentence goes on that. If he was, let's just give a hypothetical, if he was only convicted of the 2 transportation charges, the Mann Act charges, that don't carry a mandatory minimum, is it possible that the judge could give him time served? Yes. Is it probable? Absolutely not. There's sentencing guidelines the judge has to follow. That would be an extraordinary departure from the guidelines, and I really can't see that being something that would happen in this case.
Safa, RD asks, if he's released, not guilty, How long does it take for him to be processed and released? Would it be the same day? Is it possible he could flee the country?
If he's acquitted, I expect that he would be released probably within a couple of hours. If he's acquitted, he can do whatever he wants. He can leave the country. He can stay here. He can do whatever he wants. But in terms of when he's going to get turned out, if he's acquitted, probably a couple hours.
I'm going to throw this question to Tyler, and then I'm also going to ask Sierra about it. Tyler, Lisa5472 asks, with the questions the jurors are asking, do you feel they're struggling to find guilt? Or did the questions show they're headed towards a guilty verdict?
I think the questions show that they're working through the verdict sheet. And if you look at the top, you have racketeering, and then you had the predicate underlying crimes that go along with it, and then you get to sex trafficking with Ms. Ventura and then Jane. So I think that they're working through the verdict sheet, and to me, it just leads me to believe that they're probably focusing on the charges as it relates to Ms. Ventura and sex trafficking. And that's why they specifically asked for 3 separate slices of information to digest while they're working through it. But that's just my assumption. Who knows?
I'll go to Sierra in a second. Before I do, I want Barrett. We had a super chat question that just came in from V8. V8, thank you so much. I think Diddy's activities check off the RICO boxes as it's written, even though this isn't the normal type of case tried under RICO. Guilty or not guilty, do you think the RICO law will be amended?
No, I don't think the RICO law will be amended, and I agree. I think that the government has done a pretty methodical job of showing why this was a RICO enterprise, and I think they have more than 2 predicates that they have presented evidence for. The bigger question to me is, let's say he's acquitted, right? If he's acquitted on everything. Well, I don't think the RICO law will be amended. This really could be a pretty powerful message to the government that jurors don't like RICO in circumstances like that. That jurors think that this has been too big of an expansion of how the RICO laws are being used. So I think that it may be, if he's acquitted, perhaps it's something that future prosecutors take into account when they're trying to figure out whether RICO is an appropriate charge. But for me personally, I think that this conduct has satisfied the RICO elements. They've put evidence forth to that, and I think it was probably an appropriate charge.
We have a ton of super chat questions coming in. This is amazing. And this is from ManMan31994. Saf, I'll go to you, and thank you so much for this question. If Diddy is convicted on either the RICO or trafficking charges, what do you think his best grounds for appeal would be? Also, do you think he would hire different appellate counsel? Great questions.
Well, I think that he already has an appellate attorney on his team, so he very well could keep that attorney, or he can decide to go get a whole new panel of attorneys if he chooses to do that. I think that his best argument, the likelihood, and to Barrett's point earlier, is ineffective assistance of counsel, and we often see that in appeals, and with appeals you have to raise it or lose it. So I expect if he were to appeal that would be one of the arguments, that his counsel, did not call certain witnesses, that they did not present a case, XYZ, a number of reasons as to why he should be granted an appeal and the case should be, sent back. So it's just really going to depend. But he's got an appellate attorney on his team now. He can keep that attorney, or he can get a new one.
We've got a super chat question. I'll throw this to you, Tyler. This is from Christina Lester. Christina, thank you so much. Is part of the purpose?
It was a heavy conversation. They were trying to soothe Janice. They looked at it serious. After that conversation happened, Janice left the courtroom, and all of a sudden, people started showing up. Dana Tran showed up. I saw her walk by, was on live. But even all the boys who weren't in this courtroom earlier, they started to Janice.
Listen, y'all.
Hey, that's another thing.
Hey, y'all, Gentry.
Today, okay? Jury has turned on Sean Diddy Combs. You
Can y'all hear?
suffered a crushing defeat. The jury has turned on you. I repeat, the jury has turned on you. Hold on, I just took my phone.
Can y'all hear?
Okay, we are back in action. The jury has turned on Sean Diddy Combs. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, if you guys don't know, they're right in the middle of deliberations. Now, there have been a couple of jury notes that were sent out. You signaled to us what the jury was actually thinking and feeling. However, these last two jury notes that came out, baby, they are not good. And it looks like the jury has turned on Diddy. Now, what is this signal? Well, for one, at the beginning of the day, there was nobody in the courtroom except for Diddy's mom, Janice Combs. Okay? That's another thing. A verdict might be likely today. Okay? The jury might actually issue the verdict today. What do we have to go off of this? And then we'll get into the jury note, the new one that just came out, and what I actually saw and personally heard from the trial. Now let's break this down, okay? One, in the beginning, it was only Janice Combs in the courtroom. It seemed like it was going to be a slow day. Who knows? At that point, we were like, who knows when a verdict is coming out? However, Janice Combs was talking to Brian Still and Westmoreland, and it was very concerning. It was a heavy conversation. They were trying to soothe Janice, but they looked dead serious. After that conversation happened, Janice left the courtroom, and all of a sudden, people started showing up. Dana Tran showed up. I saw her walk by, was on live. But even all the boys who weren't in this courtroom earlier, they started to arrive. Now, what's the significance of that? It could be nothing. It could just be family love and support. Hey, it's the TMZ game.
Shout out to Tisa.
Tune in to Tisa Tells Telecast. She's got all the good stuff from the Diddy trial.
Listen, this is the best producer, biggest producer in TMZ. Thank you, Brian. Listen,
Hire her.
Rihanna sneakers. Listen, understated elegance. Okay, so listen, right? However, it could be nothing. But just hear me out, okay? When the verdict is read, everybody needs to be in the courtroom or close enough to the courtroom. It might be the last time they see their dad without having shackles. They have shackles in jail. As a free man, without there being glass in between. I think it is significant that there looked like there was a heavy conversation going on between Brian and Westmoreland, right? And Janice Combs. She leaves, and all of a sudden everybody starts pouring in. Christian is here. Justin is here with his girlfriend. And also, Justin is here with his girlfriend. And also, who else is here? Christian, Quincy, all the boys are here. Quincy, Christian, and Justin came with his girlfriend. Now, interesting enough, Justin's girlfriend came in. Darker girl, really pretty. She looks like she's Italian, but like slight. Like she looks like she's Italian or something like that, right? My hope didn't matter. She's a very pretty girl, but she came in. They're all there. They're all pouring in. I do think that if the twins actually pop up, there might be an issue. Why is that? They might be feeling... Oh, also, Douglas Weirder showed up in court. Why is Cassidy's lawyer in court? Again, it seems like people may think that a verdict is on its way and a verdict is coming out. Again, listen, things that you have to consider, that a verdict, that everybody thinks also what we're thinking, that a verdict is on its way out. Again, why is everybody showing up for court? Okay, here's another thing that we have to look at what the verdict is signaling, and we're going to get into the jury note.
Please double tap the screen, hit the like button.
Can I just say this, okay?
Go bam bam on the face of your screen.
Now I know that the verdict,
please,
not the jury charge sheet, but the verdict sheet, right? Now, again, I know that I'm just looking at it, but you guys can look along. Now, two things could be happening. It seems like they are getting through this jury sheet very, very quickly. Now, to be fair, there's always a possibility that they're jumping around. Let's not forget there was that issue with juror number 25, and they were like, Your Honor, he's not following my instructions. What do you want me to do? And they basically said, go work it out. You got a long road ahead. See if y'all can work it out. They could be jumping around to things that they don't have, to other things they might have issues for. And that's why they're coming with these notes. The notes are questions, direct questions of law that the jury has that they're bringing to the judge. Now keep in mind with these questions, they cannot put their finger on the scale. The judge cannot give them anything that might make them decide for or against. So they have to be very, very careful of how they're being written. This is why it's a whole big thing when the note comes out and the defense and prosecution are arguing over this. Okay, so if everybody with me? Now, one, what could be going on? They're just jumping around. Okay, we can't decide on A, let's just go to B. However, most juries move in order of questions. If they move in order of question, this kind of brings more credibility to what everybody is saying that we might get a verdict today. Turn your notifications on because you know if we get a verdict, I'm going to be out here going live, and I'm going to go to ABC Live and be on burden of proof to get the fallout for the verdict, okay? Now, okay, because let's look at the verdict sheet. This is in order. Count 1, racketeering conspiracy. How do you find a defendant guilty or not guilty, all right? So, then they want acts involving kidnapping, acts involving arson, acts involving bribery, acts involving witness tampering, acts involving forced labor, acts involving sex trafficking, and acts involving transportation for purpose of prostituting, and acts involving drug distribution. Now, the drug distribution, you remember, they asked about that yesterday, which made people think, oh my God, have you guys already got through the RICO? However, what is the next question? If and only if you find the defendant guilty of count 1, did a pattern of racketeering activity include sex trafficking of Cassie Ventura? Now, why is that important? Because Diddy has just gotten devastating news from the jury. What is that going on? They literally came out, and I'm going to go into detail, but let's start paraphrasing first. They literally said, we want to see Cassie's testimony. We want to see Cassie's testimony. They also said, we want to see the testimony of what happened in Cannes, whatever, in France, right at the film festival. We want to see what happened at the film festival and immediately after. You guys remember at the film festival, that is one of the most concrete things of sex trafficking that they have. What happened? And also the coercion of sex trafficking. Cassie was in Cannes. They were on the plane coming back. Diddy wanted to freak off. Cassie said no. Diddy then showed her the freak off tapes and said if she didn't, he was going to release it. And then immediately when they touched down, Cassie and Diddy had a freak off. That is one of the realest and hardest examples of, hold on, I have to move. The sun's coming. Hold on, y'all. I'm like trying to chase out the sun. Hold on. Let's see if we can move. You have the right idea. Okay. The sun's coming. Okay, so anyway, listen, I'm dying out here. You see my little portable fan. That is one of the realest and the biggest examples of, I still want to see the green. There we go. Green just makes me happy. I love seeing trees and stuff. That is one of the realest and biggest examples of sex trafficking. And that is what they are 100% hoping that it doesn't happen. It's not over. They also wanted to see the testimony, right, concerning Cassie and Daniel Phillips. Who was Daniel Phillips? Let me remind you. Of course, he is an escort. Every man around Diddy was an escort, right? Mm-hmm. However, Daniel Phillips, if you remember from Mark Agnifildo's closing, said, and don't forget on closing, people can say whatever they want, right? Said that none of the escorts ever said they were escorts. However, Diddy, okay, that was Diddy's side. However, Maureen Coney on her recap said, have y'all lost your mind? What do you mean they never said they were escorts? Well, Daniel Phillips, and she showed his testimony, literally went on record and said, I have specs for money. Daniel Phillips did not play that super cowboy and angel stuff. I believe that this is the person we're talking about, and he went on record and actually said that he has specs for money, or he had specs for money with Cassie and them. Now, let's go into why we might have a verdict and why it looks like the jury has turned on Diddy. What's the next one? So the next, after the drug distribution, acts involving drug distribution, on the jury sheet, the next question is, was there a pattern of racketeering activity, including sex trafficking of Cassie? They asked to see evidence about Cassie in Cannes. It's one of the clearest things. The next one, if you find the defendant guilty on count 1, did the pattern of racketeering activity include sex trafficking of Jane? They haven't asked any questions about Jane in the notes, but don't forget you only need one. You don't need Cassie and Jane. What's more, right?
Come on, Tisa.
How do you find the defendant? Count 2, sex trafficking of Cassie. Count 3, how do you find the defendant for the Mann Act transportation of Cassie Ventura? That is literally taking somebody over the line, over state lines, for the purposes of sex trafficking. Over state lines or international for the purposes of sex trafficking. Okay, that is count 3. Count 4 is sex trafficking of Jane, and count 5 is the Mann Act transportation of Jane. You guys, it looks like the jury is signaling that they
Scott, yeah, lock him up.
Or 60% of the way through of this verdict trial, and we're only at 1 o'clock. They could actually say they want to stay later, and if they say they want to stay later,
they
guess
have a
what
verdict.
happens? We might actually have our verdict tonight. Now, let me just also say this when it comes to the verdicts and what's going on, because this is very, very important to know and very important for people to know. I'm about to get into what happened in the courtroom,
Okay,
but I want to tell you guys
device
where
and charge
we
my
are at.
phone.
It looks like they are 60 or 70% away from the sheet. Here's why it's bad for Diddy. Because I just want to keep looking at the green. It's so pretty. Because all of Mark Agnifilio's shenanigans, that comedy show, it looks like it's falling back. It looks like at least a
Because they
few
didn't offer
people on
a
the jury.
defense. They didn't think they had to, but yes, you should
It
have.
looks like at least a few people on the jury paid attention to what Marine called me.
They did not offer a defense.
Slavic, what's the other girl's name? I forget. I have to find all their names, right? It looks like they were picking up with a 6-pack actually put down. Shout out to WWE, right? And they see past Diddy's all their shenanigans and all the ways they're trying to avoid the truth, and they remember the testimony. Again, why do you need clarification on things that were clear as? They're not asking for clarification on arson. That's something they can make their own minds up on. But they literally need to read Cassie's testimony. Did she say? Did it really? They need to read Philip Plaza. Did he admit to being an escort? If he did, he was transported, and that was an act of prostituting. Do you see why this isn't working out? They asked the question about the drug distribution. That means that they see. Sorry, guys. They asked the thing of the drug distribution. That means they see what's going on
The
with
pattern.
the drug distribution. Now, let me be clear, okay? First, I'm not on the jury. This is all my speculation, but you guys, I think we're onto something. Also, why is Douglas Woodard in court today? Why is Cassie lawyer in court today watching? Does he think on behalf of Cassie that there's about to be some type of verdict today? Also, why is Diddy's family being called in one by one by one by one by one? It really does make you think there is something going on.
Cassie
Okay, let me get
panicking.
into this really quick. Let me get into this really quick. I just wanted to break this down, but let's talk about what actually happened. Okay, so as you know, the judge bought the note in, okay? The jury bought the note in. Everybody had this symbol. Diddy's team was looking stressed. This has been a bad day. I will say one thing. I think they're tired of us sitting there, and by us, I mean me, and we, everybody in the courtroom sitting there looking at all their facial expressions. Because now, even though they're stressed, they did the thing that, remember when you was young? On behalf of Cassie, that there's about to be some type of verdict today. Also, why is Diddy's family being called in one by one by one by one by one? It really does make you think there is something going on. Okay, let me get into this really quick. Let me get into this really quick. I just wanted to break this down, but let's talk about what actually happened. Okay. So as you know, the judge bought the note in, okay? The jury bought the note in. Everybody had the symbol. Diddy's team was looking stressed. This has been a bad day. I will say one thing. I think they're tired of us sitting there, and by us, I mean me and we, everybody in the courtroom sitting there looking at all their facial expressions. Because now, even though they're stressed, they did the thing that, remember when you was young, and you was acting a fool in the supermarket, and your mama would look at you, and she'd be like, you better get off that floor. And she would be talking to you through her teeth, and she would be smiling, but she would be literally cursing you out through her teeth, like, you better put that down. That's what they're doing now. I think they're looking at us, and they before were like, and now they're still, because you can smile all you want. Why y'all crowding around the computer? Y'all are not looking at King Combs' latest drop, thinking this is the best thing for R&B, rap, whatever he's doing these days. They are now trying to play it off, and even though they're panicking, when they look at the galleys, they're like, yeah, so what do you think? What do you think? They're talking to, and you know Judge Aaron, he just read Mark Agnew. Y'all don't know what I'm talking about. Go watch some past live, all right? I gave things. So anyway, the judge comes in, and he was like, okay, so listen, there's 2 new notes that the jury bought in. How do you want to, if one is about procedure and the other one is about testimony, how do you want to proceed, okay? Do you want to have the jury come in and we'll read what's going on and then we'll read it in front of the jury, or do you just want them to stay in the back and we'll read the notes and then give them an answer? They were both like, Your Honor, they can stay in the back, right? Because I think for everyone, I think it's too stressful for them to see the faces of the jury, even though I would want to see the faces of the jury. But then again, I want to be nosy because I would want to know, where is the jury? What are they thinking? Where do they really want to go with all this? You see what I'm saying? Anyway, right? They said there was something with Cassie's testimony. They want to see all testimony related to Cassie and the Intercontinental incident.
Oh, it's a wrap. It's a wrap, y'all.
You want to see Cassie's testimony and the Intercontinental incident? Anything with Diddy and Intercontinental is not going good for Diddy. Hold on, you guys. The sun is still coming. Let me grab my purse and move over. Oh wait, now the sun isn't coming. Well, you know what? Let's play it safe and stuff. I'm gonna have to move a little bit more over. Okay, actually, I'm gonna move over here. So that way we can still see the green, okay? So, all right, there we go. There we go. Okay, there we go. We still got some green in the background. Okay, right? So, they want to see Cassie and Intercontinental. Anything with Intercontinental and Diddy, okay, here we go, lights better, right? Anything with like Diddy and Intercontinental is never going to be good, period. It's never going to be good, so nobody wants to hear that, right? So this is why I said the jury's turned on Diddy. This could not be good. Anything they said, we also want to hear testimony related to cons and the aftermath. Is it cans, whatever. It's a French thing, right? And the aftermath after cans, right? All right. That can't be good for Diddy because that was the clearest thing of sex trafficking by coercion. She was on the plane. She told him she didn't want to have any more freak-offs. What happened? He pulled out the tapes, made her watch, and then immediately when they landed, they had to have a freak-off. And this is when she finally said, I don't want to have any more freak-offs with you. Right? They want testimony related to the freak-off with Daniel Phillips. They want to reread the testimony about the freak-off that happened between Cassie, Diddy, and Daniel Phillips. Again, this can't be good. And they want to read Daniel Phillips' testimony again. Why is it not good? Because according to the prosecution in their closing, Daniel Phillip 100% said that Daniel Phillip 100% said that he did not, that he had sex with Cassie and Diddy for money. So what are we looking at? We're looking at sex trafficking. We're looking at violating of the Mann Act with Cassie, transporting her over state or international lines. We're looking at sex trafficking for Cassie count. We're also looking at the Daniel Phillips, the second predicate act, which is transporting prostitutes. Predicate act for RICO. First one would be drug distribution. Second one would be transferring prostitutes across state lines. We're also looking at the other predicate act of if they find Daniel Phillips was a prostitute and Diddy went over state lines, if they found out that they distribute drugs, then is that not in violation of also, do you think that for RICO that he's transported Cassie across state lines for the purposes of a commercial sex activity?
Shout out to
already
Tisa.
3 predicate charges, and we haven't even gotten into the arson. We haven't gotten into the bribery. We haven't gotten into anything like that. You guys, this is 100% bad for Diddy. And the fact that Douglas Wigdor showed up out the blue, the fact that his family is now coming in at this late hour, this is when they can leave. We think there might be a verdict today, and that the jury, it looks like the jury, if they're going in order, it looks like the jury is going through 60 to 70% of the verdict sheet already, and we are only at 1 o'clock p.m. If we do not have a verdict, hey guys, I'll be ready in like 10 minutes. Sorry guys. If we do not have a verdict in about 10, if we don't have a verdict by today, and they don't say late, then we are definitely going to have a verdict by tomorrow. Now, I'm not going to lie. A lot of the courthouse people have said that whenever there is a holiday up there, that jurors will stay and they try to get a verdict as quick as possible. However, there's a lot of evidence to go through, but it looks like that the prosecution was very successful in counting in the key instances. You don't have to look over everything. You just need to look at the key incidences. On top of that, and this is the most important thing, okay? They said in their time, the jury literally, and the judge said that if they're not done by July 3rd, because we're supposed to have July 3rd, July 4th off, because federal holidays, they said if they're not done by July 3rd, that they are 100%, he's going to open the courthouse and make them come in July 3rd. I think they said, oh, hell no. We got to get some hot dogs and buns from Costco's. We have to go. Again, now, the two sides were arguing, right? They were in agreement about what could come in with Phillips' testimony.
Double tap
everything
the screen.
except the two lines with cans, and they both say that the jury doesn't have to come out, okay? Now, the events before and after cans, the judge agreed that they didn't have to, they could put out like lines 21 and 22. I think that's something when Cassie was like, I hate you, you made me freak off, right? However, now they are arguing, okay? Now they are arguing over how much of Cassie's testimony will be in. The defense, listen, the defense is trying to pick and choose. The defense is trying to pick and choose. However, the prosecution is like, no. The defense is like, we should bring in Cassie's IG posts. Those damn IG posts. I wish there was a prosecutor that said, IG posts are not real and we're sick of you. But stop it, they're not real. I don't care what she posted on IG, right? Even though Mark did misquote the IG point, she said domestic violence is the issue, among other things. No, she said, among other things, domestic violence is the issue, okay? So that's what's going on there. They want the IG post, and they want stuff about the settlement fraud and the $30 million settlement. Again, they're trying to cloud the jury's head. They don't have the facts, so they want the jury to go off on feelings. Cassie already got enough. 30 million is enough. Who does she think she is? She looked like the girl in high school that used to bully me, right? They are doing all that stuff. The whole point, listen, if somebody says, so is Diddy guilty? He is guilty, but the jury has not delivered their verdict. But given the question, they are signaling and indicating. And again, I could be dead wrong. I'm giving y'all my opinion. I could turn around in a day and be like, well, I was wrong, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. They're going to the court.
Now, based on what they asked,
the heart of the issue. They are going to the heart of the issue. Anyway, really quick, the judge hasn't decided yet, but the defense is saying that like we want the 30 million in. The judge is like, I don't see the relevance, right?
We don't have anything to do with what he did.
Oh, also, really quick, you guys, really quick.
They don't have anything. Her 30 million has nothing to do with his charges. Nothing.
There's a TMN. Hold on, 1 second.
Her settlement has nothing to do with his breaking the law. Nothing.
Okay, so here we go. This is, oh my God. Okay, so get this. Gina Han decided to show her face today in a TMZ article. And I can say this, right? 100% it looks like Diddy paid Gina off. Let me read this to y'all really quick.
I have that next for y'all.
Okay? Gina Han said, I won't be scared if Diddy walks free. He's not dangerous. This woman was on Tasha K.
She got paid.
She tried to kick the baby out of her. This woman gave us horrific details. Listen to this.
So why she didn't come?
Diddy possibly being acquitted in this criminal case isn't weighing on an ex-girlfriend whose name kept coming up in witness testimony because she's
so
not scared of him. Dummy, you should be. You should be anyway, right? Diddy's ex Gina Hahn was leaving a Whole Foods in Las Vegas on Monday when a photographer asked her if she thought Diddy was going to walk free. So this is 100% planted. What was a TMZ photographer doing at a Whole Foods in Las Vegas? This is what she was doing, Gina. Did you couldn't testify? But she's probably keeping the thing. Listen. Gina says, this is directly from TMZ, they just wrote this. Gina says she's not sure what the verdict will be. Deliberation started a few hours before. She was asked the question.
So why did she avoid?
It sounds like she won't run for the hills. Gina, Diddy is using you. He is playing you. You always wanted to
he had to pay.
You always wanted to feel the one. You're busy posting on your Instagram, I'm the secret sauce, and all this stuff. He is using you, and as soon as he is done with you, you are going to pay. Because even though you didn't testify in court, you still testified when it came to that search warrant. And you are not afraid of him? Girl, we all saw that Tasha K interview.
She showed up,
So get this.
I had this next.
And listen, let me just say this. This proves that the prosecution knew what type of time Gina was on, and this is why they said, you're not getting on that witness stand. And interesting enough, Diddy didn't put her on that witness stand either. Diddy didn't put her on that witness stand either because they would have tore Gina up on the 5 more minutes. Sorry, guys. They would have tore Gina up on that cross-examination, and they might have even played the Tasha K interview. I'm just saying. Now get this. Diddy's ex says he never did anything dangerous to her, which is interesting considering prosecutors were trying to get her to testify at the Diddy trial. We saw... I'm sick of people gaslighting me. I'm sick of the gaslighting. I'm sick of the fact that they broke this. We saw the Tasha K interview. We saw it. Listen. Prosecutors confirmed last month Gina was victim number 3 in the Diddy indictment, and the document labeled her as an alleged victim of sex trafficking. Gina didn't end up taking the stand during the trial, with the feds saying early on in the case they were having a difficult time contacting her and wasn't sure she could show up to testify even in a subpoena. Again, all these Diddy backers, shut up, because like the prosecution pointed out when Maureen Comey was ending them, you can call anybody you want to. If there's anybody in this, hi beautiful. If there's anybody in this that, listen, if there's anybody in this that you want to hear from, that you think you can help you, Diddy, you could have called them, but you can't. You didn't call anybody because you didn't want that redirect. Oh my God, listen. Diddy's ex says he never did anything dangerous to her. Is she another modern love story? Is she Strawberry Lemonade? Is she the anal Strawberry Lemonade? Is she the modern day love story part 2? You're trying to say that what you told us he did to you and there's proof of that? That wasn't dangerous? She 100% got paid off.
Yeah, she got paid.
Gina didn't end up taking the stand. Oh, Diddy's defense team, Mark Agnifilio, told the court he had a hard time believing federal prosecutors couldn't track her down and compel her to testify. Instead, he claimed the feds were choosing to not call her as a witness. You damn right. Congratulations, Maureen Comey. You made the right choice. You're damn right we're not calling her as a witness. You made the right choice. And for a second, I was like, why don't you drag her in? Because you're not scared.
Gina popped
you're on
up.
the winning team. The
She
same
got
way
paid.
Jane, Cassie, and everybody around Diddy
Witness
wanted
number
to save
2,
him,
number 3.
wanted to lift him up, wanted to help him. You're damn right. Maureen Comey, you made the right decision. Get this. And also, and Mark Agnifilio, they were hoping, because there's different rules for direct and cross. On cross, you can be like, On direct, you have to be very, very proper. You wanted the feds to call her in, and y'all so stupid because you should have just had Gina come in and say, okay, I'm still on the fed side, dummies, right? But you thought that the feds case would fall apart if Gina couldn't be there, like she was the star witness. Baby, once again, and I know it makes Gina mad, Cassie was always the one. Between Gina and Cassie, I'm always going to take Cassie. They can never make us hate you, Cassie. And Gina, we are still waiting this proud love with you. Anyway, they said Diddy's attorney, he told the court they had a hard time believing. Listen, the TMZ broke the story. Surprise, surprise. Hey, mama, looking good. Surprise, surprise. Mark Garagos, who was like this when TMZ broke the story, And she never cooperated with prosecutors that made it clear she did not want to testify. And they said, all right, baby, you don't got to beg. You don't got to threaten us with a good time. You don't ever have to come and testify. They said Gina's name still popped up several times during witness testimony, and Diddy's exes and alleged victims, Cassie and Jane Doe, both testified about jealousy involving Diddy and Gina's relationship. And the former Diddy assistant, George Kaplan, testified he once saw an angry Diddy throwing objects at Gina's head. But she is saying that Diddy isn't dangerous, even though in the past, she's alleged she was physically, mentally, and emotionally abusive. Okay. Let's just go with this. She's saying that Diddy isn't dangerous. Okay, listen, I don't want to disrespect Gina, but can I just say, Gina, you are literally the starring person in the Dum Dum Diaries. You think you're the secret sauce. I hope you got paid off, but Diddy's so cheap, and he was only paying Jane $10,000 for her house. He probably only paying you literally a 3-piece and a biscuit from Popeye's new pickle collection menu, and maybe he'll let you upgrade with a pickle lemonade and a pickle apple pie, if they have pickle apple pies. I don't know. Gina, you are the starring role in the Dum Dum Diaries. What? The fact that you say that he's not dangerous, Gina, I'm praying for this girl. Everybody, we can go home. Gina, Diddy's bottom beat. Gina, the girl that, at the end of the day, yeah, she wouldn't go away, but you were always subservient to Jane, subservient to Cassie, subservient to Young Miami. You were never in a position or whatever, and I don't even know if you're, but you're trying to tell us that through everything you've been through, you have decided, you guys, we can go home. Diddy's biggest dum-dum, Diddy's major dum-dum said, Diddy's chief dum-dum in chief told us that he's not dangerous. You guys, wrap it up. Wrap it up. Did the jury see this? Like, what are we even here? What's going on? Why is there a case here? Gina said he's not dangerous. The same woman that testified that she literally got H-Town stomped just like Cassie, and he almost tried to stomp a baby out of her. The same woman that had her literally reciting, crawling on the floor. The same woman that told us these monstrosities. The same woman that he played you, used you, but, and I get it. She's deep in the dum-dum camp, but you gonna pop up at Whole Foods because you still trying to save this man because you somehow think that if he doesn't get out innocent, he is not gonna make you pay for everything that you did and played a part into. And you're lucky if you are still above ground. And you want to tell us that you don't think he's dangerous? No offense, Gina, but we do, in the words of whatever, we do not care. Gina, shut up. Just the fact that you said that lets us know that mofo needs to be under the jail. Oh, really quick? Let me just read this. Honeybee Therapy, what's up? Also, Hera Coppols said, y'all, you clicked so quick. Also, Don Busco said, you're amazing. Thank you, Don. I'm just getting to the questions real quick. Courtney said, just started following you recently. Thank you, Courtney. Summer Joy 99 say, oh, you can't hear during the win? Sorry, guys. Lacey, let me see if I can go this way. Lacey, Pure True Crime, thank you so much. 3 more minutes and then I'm done. Sorry, guys. Also, SS said, such in-depth analysis. Keep up the great work. And Natural Lash said, she said, what is the special sentencing clause for? That elevates it. So the special sentencing clause elevates it. So where he could have gotten 20, he'll get closer to life. Baby, this boy is going to life. Shauna Prosperity Green, thank you so much for the super chat. Judy Estevez, thank you so much. Monica Flo, thank you so much for the super chat. Annie Smith, thank you for joining the family. Also, Annie Smith, I love you too, Mama. Mosaic Maria, thank you for gifting memberships. Rico, thank you for gifting those memberships. Y'all make sure you thank Mosaic Maria and also Rico for those memberships. Cindy Evans, thank you so much for the super chat. Margie Smith Fluffy, what's up, Margie Fluffy? Trina Garcia, thank you. Vibe Stars said Busby winning 2 against JC. We're gonna do a story about that. T-Jack 47, thank you so much for the super chat. Nurse Janice UK said, love you. Oh, like, oh really? Nice. Tammy Landringen, thank you so much. Said celebrating our winning season. Shine and shake your shimmy. Joy said, you're pure awesome. Thank you so. Oh, hold on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Joy. I appreciate that. Also, Whiskey is my yoga said, I don't think the judge is going to have it. They asked for a specific session just like they asked for a specific question yesterday. He's not having it. He's sick of them. Also, Twist My Cake said, I've watched you for 2 years. Fantastic. You deliver in every way. Thank you. I almost don't want the trial to end. Just kidding. Yes. I actually don't want it to end either. Miss Lady. But I do. I want the justice. Miss Lady said, thanks for the energetic update. You're welcome. Gigi, thank you. Janae Humphrey said, Why are they using that Insta post by Cassie Lasher? Because that's all they have. That's all they have. And Mark Agnifilo misread the post on top of that. So let that shit go down there. And they will see, they said violence is not, they said DV is an issue among others. Rico, thank you so much for that super chat. Also, Journey to Zion, Zion, now the joy in my world. Okay, let me stop. Anyway, y'all, listen. I'm gonna go back on. I gotta film something for Access Hollywood and also Nancy Grace, and then I'm gonna come back on live. Okay, then I'm gonna come back on live. So y'all look out. But we have so much to discuss, and I'll try to drop a few videos too. Wait, hold on. I have a few other things to discuss. Don't go anywhere yet, right? So what was the thing, right? Okay. So anyway, Diddy's PR girl, Nat Orr, is the girl that quit. She's back in the courtroom. We're going to talk about that. Daniel Phillip, I think that's a guy that might apologize to Cassie. Again, why is Douglas Woodard here? Diddy seems stressed. His kids are coming back in. The daughters are not there. But again, they are fighting now. Truth, and they are fighting truth and now to admit testimony because they want to pay an issue. But let me just say this does not bode well to Diddy. It looks like they are 60 to 70% done with the jury, with the verdict sheet. And it does not bode well for Diddy at all. It does not bode well at all that they are asking questions that go straight to the heart of sex trafficking, Mann Act, RICO, drug distribution, all this stuff. Again, it's not looking good for your boy Diddy at all. Really quick, also, hold on. I think somebody had a question. You know, I love to answer the questions. Okay, nobody else had a question. I'm going to try to go live later. There's so much going on with the Jay-Z and Tony Busby stuff. There's so much going on with the Diddy trial. Y'all, yes, Busby got Jay-Z's lawsuit thrown out. And good thing, because even though I do think that Tony Busby was putting 20 on 10 now, and he misled a lot of us, what Jay-Z was doing is actually sick of the fact that you think that you can sue people that are suing people for domestic violence. It's a little weird. Oh, Gigi said, Mama Coles realizes the real. Love you, T said. Thank you. And Yolanda Davis, thank you so much for the super set. Oh, Sherry Reddy, thank you so much for gifting those memberships. Y'all make sure y'all thank Sherry Reddy as well. And Annabelle said, hardest working lady on the trial. Jazz, T said, trials. Appreciate you. Grab a cool one. Thank you so much. And Sydney said, T said, do you see Gina was just spotted at Whole Foods in Vegas? Yes, I did. I read out the whole article, but I'll do a standalone article too. Okay, let me get out of here, and I'm going to try to go live sometime in this hour. Turn your notifications on. I have so much more information on what's going on, and I'm going to go live probably in the next hour and put up some standalone videos. Okay, I got to talk to y'all later. Bye.
Why would Gina pop up today of all days? Why would she pop up today of all days? She avoided. She was a witness. She done told on him. She done gave up. She done talked to social media. She done talked to the feds. And now all of a sudden, she pops up after she goes the trial. As if charges ain't going to be brought up on her. Possibly. Because everybody who has been a part of Diddy, just like Cassie and Jane Doe, were either a witness or a co-conspirator or a cooperating witness. So guess what that makes Gina now? Unless she was a cooperating witness that didn't take the stand, but they was expecting for her to take the stand. So whatever agreement she had with them, that kind of blew out the window because she didn't hold up her part of the bargain. So she's now with with KK and D-Rock.
People have in their minds, right? Especially when you're talking about interpersonal conflicts.
But why would she do that?
Relationships. And I go back to a question that always remains, Jesse, is a lot of people have...
Yeah, double,
why don't they leave?
Click.
They could leave. Why didn't they do that? And I think the government...
The face of your...
As far as sprinkling...
Double tap your screen. Get the likes up. I need 5 likes.
Talking about why fear of leaving in general. So I think that they did a good job explaining it. It's all about how the jury's kind of interpreting it, though, because I'm sure that's a question in their mind, as it's been kind of a question in a lot of viewers' minds too.
Gina
So
popped
I
up.
think they did a good job, but again, it's up to the jury to talk about, or excuse me, to deliberate on whether or not they kind of agree too.
Elizabeth, what are the flavors of the Mr. Softy truck behind you? I see they might have vanilla, they might have Oreo as well. Sorry, I got distracted. It's sorry, I see ice cream.
There's a Mr. Softy truck behind me. I got excited.
If they played the music right now, if they played the music right now, we're doing great. Okay, we got a super chat question from Christina Lester. This is so kind, Christina. Please just tell
That's a
Elizabeth
lot
how
going on.
awesome it's been to watch her grow on this channel, so confident and beaming.
Oh, that is so sweet. Oh, that's so nice. Like, I know, truly the viewer support has just been so overwhelmingly nice. Like, I never know if you guys are going to like us or anything like that. So just the overwhelming support has truly been phenomenal. And we do look at a lot of your guys' comments. So I want to thank you all for watching, sticking with us being kind of your destination for all things Diddy and all things Diddy trial. So we love you all here at Long Tribe.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We've got a question from Truman. Jesse, Elizabeth, a big thanks to you and all experts for your great job. Do you think the trial would give a reason for other celebrities to rethink their lifestyle? That's an interesting question.
They better.
That is a good question. That's a great question, actually. I think, a lot of celebrities might want to consider their actions. We're seeing just so many kind of court cases come about when you go back to Bill Cosby and R. Kelly. We've seen civil complaints or civil lawsuits filed against
I just did a video
and now we're
about
seeing
the jury
Diddy
question.
saga. Remember, Jesse, when we were first started reporting on Cassie's lawsuit, and then that was settled, and just more lawsuits came, that I think a lot of other celebrities should consider, I think, one, the way that they're treating others, especially the way that they're treating women, whether or not that their actions do constitute and possibly criminal actions or just terrible choices maybe too. But I think a lot of people, it's not even just celebrities, a lot of people need to kind of maybe, maybe take a little class or two just about their actions and how their actions definitely could have consequences. But we'll see if this is just the beginning or whether or not, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, other celebrities are going to be named. Like, that wasn't even the case of this particular trial. It's related to victim 1 and victim 2. That being
I don't know. Is D-Rock still alive? I'm assuming so.
Right, about this other rapper who had a girlfriend or a wife, and they were part of the lifestyle. And I think the point was from the defense, you got somebody else who might be engaging in the same thing, right? Why is that person not being brought up on sex trafficking charges? So I thought that was
Mona, why are you bringing up Donald Trump?
I did want to ask you this.
Yeah.
What does Donald Trump have to do?
What has Diddy's vibe been like? Every time he's entered into the court, what does he look like? Does he seem nervous? Has he been taking notes? What is his interaction with attorneys? Any behavioral things you've taken note of?
I've definitely been noticing he's been reading a lot since the jury went back to start their deliberations. Because obviously, when I'm outside here, everyone's outside kind of doing their live reports and stuff like that. Diddy's not inside the courtroom. He's going back to, I think, what it's considered to be a holding cell, where he even told his attorneys that he just wanted to take a couple books back. And so when we see him come out of the kind of where he's been held up at, and when kind of he sees some of his attorneys, he sees his family, he sees the entire courtroom in the gallery, I think, one, he's happy to see his family. That's something that I've definitely been taking note of. But in terms of just his maybe possible nerves, they're not showing necessarily all over his face. But also, mind you, Jesse, that it's likely that the defendant is reading these jury notes, these jury messages, before we're even learning what they actually contain, because the lawyers, they get these messages first from the jury, so that way they can work everything out, they can think about their arguments, all of that stuff. So I'm sure if there was any type of questions that had concern for the defense, he's probably hearing about that in probably a private holding cell, probably digesting it then, and then when he comes out, sees the rest of us, he's probably putting on a strong face, especially for his family. I don't think he's putting on a strong face for us in the press, but I think as far as his support system goes, he's not going to show, to my what I'm seeing inside the courtroom kind of show any type of like, wavering in terms of just looking mad or looking annoyed or looking mad or concerned or any of that sort. So it's pretty hard to read him at this point, but I'm sure a lot's going through his mind, especially as more and more questions keep coming out.
Let's talk about that real quick. When I was reading that the jurors had asked for Ventura's testimony, if any, regarding interactions, freak-offs with Daniel Phillip, and Phillip's testimony regarding the Essex Hotel incident with Ventura, what jumped out to you about that? What do you think the jurors are trying to get a little bit more information about?
Well, it's interesting, Jesse, because I think if you think about the first question, it kind of had to do with RICO conspiracy, and now they're asking kind of things that pertain to sex trafficking, and I think in part two, to count two that's been alleged in the indictment. And so I think there are specific questions about Cassie in the Intercontinental Hotel, Cassie at Cannes, I know I always mispronounce it, and then the events that immediately followed afterwards, and plus Cassie's testimony in regards to the interaction with Daniel Phillip at a freak-off at her apartment, plus the Essex Hotel incident with Cassie and Daniel Phillip. I think their questions are very specific. And it's interesting too, Jesse, because I was sitting by one of the reporters inside, and I was going back through my notes even from just closing arguments, and the prosecution pointed out these specific instances in their closing argument. The Intercontinental Hotel that had happened in March 5th of 2016. They showed an exhibit photo of Cassie at the Cannes Film Festival, and then they even specifically talked about a particular freak-off where Sean Combs had punched Cassie and then kind of forced her to do a freak-off even after being physically violent with her. And so I'm wondering, a lot of people are talking about testimony and how far back it goes, but it seems like the jury really kind of took heed to the closing argument. And I think what's also interesting too, Jesse, is the whole Instagram post that's also going to go back to the jury too, something that's still on Cassie Ventura's Instagram page even to this day, just in regards to the outpouring of support that she had gotten after the Intercontinental Hotel surveillance video was released by CNN just last year, where she said in part, "Thank you all for the love and support from my family, friends, strangers, and those that I have yet to meet. The outpouring of love has created a place for my younger self to settle and feel safe now." But this is only the beginning. Domestic violence is the issue, and she capitalizes THED issue. It broke me down to someone I never thought I would become. So that's just in part of what the message reads. But it's also interesting because the defense pointed out the specific IG message. So it really seems like the jury really kind of took in what was said in the closing arguments, and now it seems like they'll be getting kind of the testimony from the few days before, the few days after, and they're going to get this Instagram post too that's going to be sent back with them. So it's interesting that the questions, a specific question too.
Yeah, they're definitely considering the evidence after all these hours. I think the deliberation is going to last quite some time, and it's very hard to gauge where the jurors are right now, what they might be thinking. By the way, the ice cream music did hit as well. I couldn't have planned that better. All right.
You heard it. Good.
Oh, I heard it. All right. Before I let you go, we got a super chat question. We got a super chat question from Augusto USA. Thank you so much. Hello, Elizabeth. I would like to know if Sean Combs has VIP treatment at his cell. Thank you. You guys rock. Congratulations. So sweet. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. I think in terms of in his cell, I think he's getting the treatment that a lot of other defendants are getting. I don't want to make any assumptions because obviously I haven't seen his cell or anything like that, but I don't know if he's necessarily getting VIP treatment as much so as he's just kind of being treated like any other possibly high-profile defendant.
All right. So, Elizabeth Milner, thank you so much. I know you have to head back into court. Really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you later.
Thanks, Jesse.
All right, let's continue the conversation. Back here with Safa, back here with Tyler. We're going to have a lot more questions coming in. So, Safa, Heidi Hawking asks, how does the jury decide on a four-person?
Well, usually, and it depends. If it's in state court, it's usually the person that is juror number one, and the way that they're seated by the judge. In federal court, they will have a conversation and designate a conversation amongst themselves and designate who the four-person is going to be.
Yeah, and is that's a daunting job, right, Tyler? I mean, do they feel like They have to be the mediator. They have to lead everybody in the right conversation. I wonder if every day they say, okay, our objective today is to go through counts 3 and 5. Our objective today is to go through racketeering. What role do they typically play in this?
So the thing that's interesting, there's no syllabus for being a foreperson. The judge declares that you're the foreperson, and then you pretty much take, leadership with that role, how you see fit. I mean, a good foreperson really helps drive what they're going to be considering, drives the conversation, makes sure everybody's heard, and then will continue to move the deliberations along. It's always been a dream of mine. I wish I could be a juror. I doubt anybody would ever select me to serve on the jury, but it's a foreperson. They serve a specific role in really being a leader in the jury deliberation rooms.
I got a bunch of super chat questions coming in. Awesome super chat questions. Awesome questions in general. Safa, this is from Black Sigma. Thank you so much. This is fair, okay? Why was Cowboys for Angels not indicted or prosecuted as a criminal enterprise? Remember, this is the service that provided alleged sex workers in this case, male performers in this case. Why is Diddy the only one being charged in this racketeering conspiracy case? Why was Cowboys for Angels not indicted or prosecuted?
Excellent question. Honestly, that's a question that I myself have personally had with respect to this case. When we typically see RICO cases, we normally see a number of defendants. You can see anywhere from 2 to 15 to 20. It just depends. But I find it interesting, and this was a prosecutorial decision not to indict this company. I don't know why, only they would know, but it is definitely a question that has come into my mind. If they are providing these alleged sex workers and receiving payment for these individuals' things of that nature, why have they not been charged as a part of this enterprise? I think is a very great question.
And by the way, in the jury instructions, one of the things they were told is there were witnesses that weren't called. There were people who weren't called as witnesses, aka Christina Quorum. It wasn't mentioned specifically in the jury instructions, but you can't use that to infer anything. But look, these jurors are human beings. They might be wondering why other people weren't charged. Look, that was what the defense said. They said he's the only one charged in this. Who were the other co-conspirators? So it's interesting to think about that, or maybe Cowboys for Angels. Okay, super chat question for you, Tyler. This is from Jose Talavera. Thank you so much, Jose. Pretending thousands of people are not watching this, okay? In your personal opinion, is he guilty or not guilty?
Great question. I mean, when I'm on this show, I'm talking my personal opinion. I can care less about how many people are watching. But I think he's guilty of the charge that he's been accused of committing. If you look through the jury charges, if you read the actual statute, look at the verdict sheet, I think it's pretty hard not to convict him for at least the Mann Act violation. RICO, I think the way the jury verdict sheet looks, it's pretty hard not to even convict him for RICO, because this RICO conspiracy, the judge described what a conspiracy is, and then you have 10 predicate crimes that you can choose from beneath that. So it's really hard, I think, for Mr. Combs to walk on this, and I personally feel that everybody's innocent to proven guilty, but the videos and the evidence and the testimony, it's kind of hard to ignore that.
Yeah, I've always said that I feel the transportation to engage in prostitution charges, if you look at the facts, if you look at the evidence and the testimony in this case, particularly now that the jurors, through jury instructions, they don't even have to accept that the men that were transported or allegedly transported, they didn't have to be sex workers. They don't have to be prostitutes. They're just, if there were completed sex acts, you get there. I mean, through the text messages, the audio messages, the Amex receipts, the testimony, it put Diddy at the center of it. And I think it's going to be very, very hard to make the argument that he didn't know this was illegal or he didn't know what was going on. So I think he's probably going to get convicted of those. Racketeering, toss-up. Sex trafficking, probably stronger with Cassie than there is with Jane. We shall see. Natalie Mejia has a super chat question. Thank you so much. Not even a question. Wow. Jesse and Elizabeth for President, Vice President 2028. Well, first of all, that's very kind. Second of all, wow, really? That's where we're at. I mean, stranger things, but no, if that's who we're looking at, we got some more serious problems. But hey, this is not the politics show. This is a way to get out of politics a little bit. All right, got a super chat comment from Katie. Excellent reporting and discussions, Jesse. I always notice when you aren't here. That's very sweet. How do you think Combs is handling deliberations? Will KK be charged immediately if he's found guilty? Safa, look, I don't think necessarily she's going to be even a part of this case. I don't even think, or charged afterward. There is a question why she wasn't called as a witness. There is a question about what she needed when they have all of her text messages and you have so much testimony about her. I think he's probably very nervous right now. There's a difference between being charged, waiting for trial, going into the jury selection process, beginning the trial, and now you represent clients. How nervous are they when you now come to the main question? Will I be found guilty? And if I am found guilty, the likelihood of a successful appeal where the conviction could be overturned or my sentence could be overturned is not high. So there's everything at stake here. His whole life can change in any minute.
His entire life is at stake. And during the verdict watch process, everybody's on pins and needles. The defendant is, myself, or we as attorneys, we're all so nervous. The moment we hear that there's a note from the jury, everyone's stomach drops because we don't know if it's going to be a question or if it's going to be a verdict. So it is a very highly critical time right now, and everybody's nervous and everybody's on the edge of their seats. And you're right, Jesse, to your point, this moment is truly going to define what the rest of Mr. Combs' life looks like. And the likelihood of his conviction being overturned on appeal is probably not going to be likely unless there was some error that was done during the proceedings or by this lower court as it goes up on appeal to the Second Circuit, and ultimately wherever it may land after that.
Got a super chat question. We have Sierra Gillespie with us. Sierra, hi, good to see you. You're back. Okay, so Sierra, let's jump into the conversation. I want you to feel a part of this. And by the way, I'm sorry they didn't want you to be president or vice president, but I think that you are a part of this. I think you are a part of this administration. Whatever role you want.
I want to be in the cabinet.
You want to be in the cabinet? Secretary of State. How about that? Secretary of Defense while we're at it.
Please.
All right, we got a question.
Why not?
From Charles MEMPHIS. Thank you so much, Charles. Did you cover the RICO? Did you cover the R. Kelly case? Because I get this question all the time. How does this case, this RICO case, differ from R. Kelly's case?
I did cover R. Kelly, actually, Jesse. If we wind the clock back 3 years ago, this very week is the first time I met Jesse Weber in person. I have it on my calendar. I got to mark it because it was a monumental day for me. Actually, it was my first time I met any of my law and crime coworkers because I was here in Manhattan. Actually, it was in Brooklyn, excuse me. It was in Brooklyn for the sentencing of R. Kelly. So I was there and I did cover it a bit. And I do remember when P. Diddy, even before he got indicted, when we first had these civil allegations, a lot of people were comparing the two. And I think they are similar in a way. There are definitely the differences between the two. How are we here? I mean, we heard Barrett in the last hour talking about, why it makes sense, the RICO charges here. And I tend to agree with her that it makes sense the reason that he's facing these charges. But I mean, I don't want to say R. Kelly walked so that P. Diddy could run in terms of the prosecution side of things. I'm not going to say that at all, even though I technically just did. I mean, there are big differences here. I don't know. I guess we can compare and contrast.
Well, the minors. It's all about minors. If minors were a part of this case, that defeats a lot of the planned defenses. Consent is no longer a defense. Then it's just you have to say it didn't happen. And while there were allegations about minors in the civil cases against Sean Combs, that was not something that was mentioned, referred to, that he was accused of in this criminal prosecution. Hey, first of all, somebody, Black Sigma says Sierra for press secretary. So there you go. I think you're beyond press secretary. No, I think Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense. This is what you get. Maybe Attorney General. I don't know. I have to see if I'm president in this scenario. I don't know. James Bolton. Will Diddy saying? Wow, listen to this one, Sierra. James Bolton says, will Diddy say that the judge did an excellent job affect a possible appeal? Remember when he said that?
Yeah, I do remember when he said that. And I do think that's a topic of conversation, especially since all of us are wondering, when are we going to hear from Diddy? I mean, we heard from him in that apology video, I believe in May of 2024. And then that was it, right? He chose not to take the stand. So we didn't hear from him then. And the time that we did hear from him is when he basically said, "You're doing a great job, sweetie," to the judge, you know? And I don't know if that's going to affect appeal in any way. I do think that it's something that's maybe going to be considered in all of this. Let's say that there is a conviction, and let's say that it comes to sentencing. The comparison that I like to do is that when your parent is the coach of your t-ball team, they don't want to start you. They don't want to put you out first because they don't want to show any sort of favoritism. And so I have heard, especially from our other guests here on Law and Crime, that sometimes when there is some sort of celebrity who's the defendant, perhaps maybe the judge is a little harder, doesn't want to show any preferential treatment here. And so perhaps maybe the judge would kind of keep that in the back of his mind, like, "Thank you, P. Diddy, for saying that I'm doing a great job. Okay, back at ya," and then move on. I don't know that it's grounds for an appeal. I don't know that it's necessarily going to be mentioned at an appeal, but maybe just something that Judge Arun Subramanian would keep in the back of his mind.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Let's see. Okay. Ooh, got some more legal questions coming in. Safa, Christina Lester has another super chat question. Can you elaborate on the difference between reversed and vacated in appellate court?
Yeah, so what ultimately happens is if a person is convicted, then they go up on an appeal. If the court or if the appellate court determines that there was an issue with the lower court's decision, the appellate court would decide either to reverse the conviction. So if somebody was originally found guilty of murder, they would reverse that conviction. The person is no longer guilty of murder, or they would vacate it. And it'll also depend on if the person's going to stay in custody, or if the government's going to have the ability to retry the case. Vacature essentially just means to get the conviction out of there as well.
I have a lot of questions about these notes, Tyler. I'm going to throw two to you. This is from Checka B. Why was the judge not able to answer the note from jurors about distribution being defined as the handing over of drugs? This is from yesterday. Why couldn't he answer with a simple yes response? And also, Joshua Randolph says, in most state cases, when the jury requests previous testimony, the judges refer them back to their notes or memory. Why is this different in federal court?
All right, so answering the first question, the specific question that came out was essentially asking the judge to give another definition for distribution. And in the jury charges, he already gave his instructions for the jury to consider for distribution. There's a specific question as to what distribution in the form of this case was from the jury. And the reason why he couldn't say anything further than that and referring back to the jury instructions, I think is the proper thing to do, because you don't want additional factors regarding how they're going to decide the law to be used by the jury when they decide not guilty or guilty based off the definitions that the judge gave. And then the second question, Jesse, if you could rephrase that for me.
Yeah, so the second question was, why was the judge, oh no, that was that one. Where was it? I lost it already. It was the one, where was it? I lost it already.
Oh, I'm remembering now.
Oh, check yeah, why was the judge, it was about the drug distribution. So, why was the judge not able to answer the note from jurors about distribution being defined as the handing over of drugs with a simple yes response? Yeah, and then, yeah, that was the one. Okay, well,
there was one more about the transcript, I believe, and why the judge just didn't tell them to refer to the notes or the materials.
You're right. I'm trying to find that. What was that one? I saw it too. Yeah, it was basically. Here we go. No, that wasn't the one. We already answered that one. I'm lost. We got so many questions coming in. It's hard for me to make sense of it. I'll tell you what. We'll come back to that one. Let me go to Safa on this one. We got a question from Black Sigma. Super chat question. Thank you so much. When you say Diddy is charged with sex trafficking, are you saying that Cassie and Jane Doe are prostitutes and Diddy is a pimp?
Yes and no. I mean, if you want to view it that way, sure. But the reality is the facts of this case have been laid out that he has engaged in sex trafficking with these particular women who are not prostitutes by any means, but it could apply in that sort of scenario. But in this particular case, the argument from the government has been that by the use of threats, fraud, or coercion, he has trafficked these women and caused them to engage in sexual activity through threats, through force, and through coercion. So the fact that they are not truly a pimp and a prostitute doesn't really matter, although it could apply in those circumstances as well.
Got a super chat comment from Sophisticated. Thank you so much. Absolutely sensational watching from Abu Dhabi with my friends. Oh my gosh. Can't believe how this case is unfolding. It's like something out of a movie. At times it really is a movie. What kind of movie is a question? Is it a horror movie or what? Got the super chat question from Angie. Let me throw this to you, Tyler. Hi, are you able to estimate where they are in deliberations? For example, do you think the jury has concluded on RICO and are now on the trafficking charges?
Yeah, I think that the jury is now on the trafficking questions or charges, and that's based off the questions that they presented to the court earlier concerning Ms. Ventura and those three pieces of information that they're seeking. It seems to me that they moved on from that, and now they're trying to figure out if Mr. Combs is guilty of sex trafficking in regards to victim Ms. Ventura. And that's why those three questions were concerning different incidents with it.
Sierra, let me go to you. Jackie Reed asks, will the jury be confused on racketeering without anyone else being charged along with Diddy? That was something, right? That's something that came up by Mark Agnifilo in defense's closing argument. Where are his co-conspirators? KK's not a co-conspirator. The alleged victims are asking her for help. She's really an alleged co-conspirator. You think that's going to be a factor?
I think that this is a fantastic question. It's one that we've talked about actually on my show Scandal, which if you are interested in P. Diddy or any sort of celebrity, make sure to subscribe because we talk about things like this, celebrity crime and gossip and drama. So subscribe to that. Back to your question, Jesse, talking about their confusion. I mean, potentially, yeah, right? When these jurors came into all of this, who's to say if they've ever heard of RICO or racketeering, potentially may not have even ever heard of it. However, if they had, I'm going to guess that they heard something in relation to mobsters. And usually when it happens like that, when it's the mob or the mafia, there's multiple co-conspirators. And so, yes, I do think it's possible that these jurors are confused in this, especially if they're listening to the defense's closing arguments. As you pointed out, Mark Agnifilo really acting Mark the Shark in that way, saying, okay, what is this? This isn't even RICO. We got one guy, it's P. Diddy, Sean Combs. Where are the other alleged co-conspirators? Again, we've talked about this time and time again. Where was KK? Why wasn't she called for the government or even the defense for that matter? So is it possible that they're confused? Yes, absolutely. And I think that's why we have jury deliberations, for some of them to say, okay, here's what I thought about that. Here's what I thought. And then they can confer and discuss and kind of point to closings and all the rest of the arguments that they heard. I do think it could be confusing, but I don't know that it would deter them ultimately from a conviction.
And we're going to wait and see. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be signing off. I got like a million sidebars I'm doing today. But you're in great hands. You're with Sierra, okay, host of Scandal. Tyler's going to stick around. Safa's going to stick around. We're going to get to more of your questions as we are currently in verdict watch in the Sean Diddy Combs criminal trial.
Mark. You are funny. Did you hear me in there choking? When I saw your comment, baby, I spit out water. Excuse me. I dang near choked when I saw your comment. Pimping ain't easy, but somebody got it. This is all, well, not all. But he was the new and improved pimping is what he did. That's what he was doing to Cassie. And he just did. You that good? Yeah, but I choked. Oh my God. I hope y'all didn't hear me. Yeah, that went down the wrong way. I said, oh, he has lost it. Yeah, that's all this is. That's all Diddy. Hold on, let me see what else is popping out. I hope they come up with a verdict. And it look like they moving pretty quick because the questions that they're asking, they need clarification on are good. I just tell the truth. It is definitely pimping. But people don't like it when you tell the truth. And guess what? Guess what? Pimping ain't pimping people for sex. Not just, well, and his profit was his fetish. You know, he just sick like that. I don't know. But that's all that is. And again, I'm going to say he was more into the males than he was the females. That's why the females took the butt of the abuse, and the hookers were catered to. Ain't that crazy? The male hookers were catered to. They made more money. And if they said no, no, I don't want to do that, he was okay with that. Now, what I learned late in the midnight hour was that Jules, who they saw both like, Diddy is a switch hitter. Yeah. Jules, hell, he acting like he was more the madam of the strippers, of the male workers. Cause Flash, I caught him last night. He said, excuse me, you see, you still got it's still in my throat. Flash said that Jules is who turned him on to Diddy. And why they acted like they didn't know who he was? Yeah, they already knew who he was, because Jules, they homeboy, he slipped and said his name. He also slipped and said another cat's name. Kind of told him. That's okay. About what was going on. Yeah, we was up late. I fell asleep on that. But Jules, because remember, Jules is the one that they flew all over town, out the country. Jules was the one who was in the hotel room when at the Intercontinental when she was being assaulted. They could say it's DV, but it's not, because he was dragging her back in there to be with Jules. They, you know, he liked Jules, but that's who told him about Diddy. They Diddy them had went through Jules to get in contact with some of these male hookers. And I'm saying, well, why Jules wasn't on the stand? He slipped and said Jules is missing. Not missing, in hiding. Let me see if I can pull that back up before I go. Can y'all believe I'm gonna have to stop doing this? I'm gonna have to stop. Not putting food into my mouth until I normally don't do this. But hold on, before I go. So Gina done popped out. Hell, I guess Jules finna pop out too. It's getting close to a verdict, but why Jules didn't take the stand? Because his name came up a lot. Sound like he had made some type of deal with the diddler as well. But hold on, let me get to it. Let me get to it. And he sure tipped them in well. I ain't lying. Diddy tipped them. Are they coming back? Let's go.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Law and Crime's live coverage of United States versus P. Diddy Verdict Watch. I'm your host, Sierra Gillespie. Thanks for sticking with us. We have a lot of viewers right now, honestly, from all over the world. So, hi, thank you for coming on. And thank you to everyone who's been writing in so many questions. There are so many good ones, so keep them coming. We're at about 10 hours worth of deliberation. And by the way, it's happening right across the street from me. That's the courthouse there. I'm posting live from the Southern District of Manhattan, where we're bringing you the updates as soon as we have them. And let's get right to it, shall we? Let's bring on our guests for today. We have criminal defense attorney Safa Robinson, and then we have criminal defense attorney Tyler Bailey. Thank you both. You've been on longer than I've been on today, and you're doing such a great job. I gotta ask you questions. So let's start with you, Safa.
We getting over to Diddy's. Let me see where it's at. Hold on. Flash. Flashlight. Stop light. Neon light. Him. Yeah. Him. Let me find when he slips up and says, oh boy's name of who called him. Let me find it. Hold on.
It's nimble.
Have you ever got any of them pregnant?
Oh. I don't think that.
Are you on a website like a .com? Are you in a club? Or is there like a male strip club? Because I'm trying to figure out, how do people find you?
So the whole strip thing is a hustle, right? The guy that I start working for, I'm not gonna say his name, but when you go to his website, it's a whole bunch of black dudes, and they all like crazy. Like, I'm looking at them like, damn, I can't even compete. But
Mark, he is guilty for what he's charged. Do you understand that these are male hookers that he took across state lines? Stop, Mark. It is. Y'all just don't recognize Rico. Y'all don't. Y'all only want to recognize Rico in racketeering, in a particular way, and that's not what it is. It could be. A car theft. I mean, car theft, and it could be organized crime. A group of people, men and women, that is committing these. That can be classified as RICO. I mean, what are y'all? Come on. The problem is y'all do not understand the full extent of the law, and what people think is the law is how our culture gets caught up, because they know that we are fully ignorant to the law. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to be as honest as I can be. And we don't find out until we're in trouble. And then we'll start saying, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know. So if you would have known, would they have stopped you from doing it? No. No, you still would have did it. Because no one is going to research it before they do it. And there has always been things about the law that we didn't fully know about the law until we got caught breaking the law. But they have showed us 50 million times how it is RICO and how it is racketeering. Now, what he was good at is trying to outthink the process. You know, he's saying, where wasn't the prostitutes wasn't females, or I wasn't getting paid for it. Your pay was your pleasure. All you wanted for out of this situation was, one, to do your own porn on. That's what you told, what's his name? The cute Rico. You told Rico that you are now at this stage in your life, that's what you're into. So you was feeding into that. So you sitting there narrating, directing. Rub it on here, put it here, take it off, move slower. Take that. What is that? What is that? What boyfriend do that? Tell me, Mark, how many of your lovers have you had somebody else in the room directing? Be honest. How many of us will have somebody, if it's just, you know, freaky? Yeah, how many people push a damn button, a red button, and then people come in the room and start throwing down tiles and laying tiles and changing the light bulbs from clear to red? Who does that? You have Brandon say he goes and he stocks it up. You know, it has to be lined up perfectly. The R in the jail, you know, the get hard jail, you know, stroke me down jail, all that type of shit. Who does that? I mean, because we ain't nobody saying people ain't freaky. We talking about organized. So organized that these people come in there and they line shit up perfectly. It has to look, it's staged perfectly. Everybody know their job. That's organized crime. And, you know, I don't know why the hotel people, I guess they got paid, I guess. I mean, every time he come, you know you finna get a free remodeling room because that's not normal. That's not freaky. And what does that movie look like? What tiles all over the floor? All on the furniture. Yeah. And for somebody to say he be out the country sometimes when some of these freak out, yes, because he's streaming it live on some site somewhere. Yes. Yeah, because Dapper Dan said, what Diddy doing? Hell, his mama and them was doing this shit a long time ago. He said, yes, his dad, Melvin, was a dealer, but he also had plenty O's. He had plenty O's. And the mama would disguise things like it was modeling or what have you. And hell, ain't that how Ivanka, what is Trump wife? I'm gonna leave him alone. Oh, girl brought his name up. But anyway, yeah, as models, and it'd be sex offs. So Dapper Dan said, Diddy got this shit honest. But it's sad because if that's the case, it's generational. And now he passing it down to his sons, and I hope not his daughters. I hope not. But them girls don't seem too close to her, the grandmama, when she come in there. It's always the boys. But I guess that's how it's supposed to be, I guess. I don't know. But let me do this before I forget.
They look nothing like the niggas from the website. So I figured out real quick, it's the bait and switch. 3001s to shows. Wow. Niggas be hating, man. They good clients. They seen your pictures. They
okay, hold on, right here.
Like the person that called me. Okay. His name is Jules. The nigga sold me out anyway. He hiding right now. Okay.
Y'all hear that? Y'all hear that? Jules sold him out. That's who contacted him for Diddy now. Hello. So where Jules? Why Jules hiding out right now? Just like Gina was hiding out. Let's say it one more time for the one time.
His name is Jules. The nigga sold me out anyway. He hiding right now. Some weirdos. Like I've done shows with him where he's just eating random bitches out and shit. Like for real. Like his name is Jules. Bitches out and shit. Like for real. 3001s to shows.
Wow.
You know.
And so one day your phone rings. Tell us about this. Well. How did you get to Cassie and Diddy?
So my boy, him and his girl, they swingers, but he's a dancer too, right? They like some weirdos. Like I've done shows with him where he's just eating random bitches out and shit. Like for real. Like
your homie.
You know, like the person that called me.
Okay.
His name is Jules. The nigga sold me out anyway. He hiding right now.
Okay. So Jules.
Jules, yeah. Jules hit me and was like, yo, I got a couple. They good clients. They seen your pictures. They really like you. They want you to come do a show for them right now. It's like 3:30, 3:45 in the morning. I'm like, nigga, look, I gotta go to the barber. I got an appointment at 7. Tell them I'll come after. It's $500. I ain't tripping. That's my rate anyway. For me to even get up and come to you, it's gonna cost you $500.
Just to get there. And that's not even, then they got a tip too. And
yeah. Otherwise, nigga, we out. No. Like, I put in work.
So it's $500 for travel, then you're there for an hour in your mind, right? Or how long? 30 minutes? 2 hours?
It just depends. Until I break the ass.
Oh, like, so they don't got no more money.
Yeah, I try to break them. They know.
That's a lot of dancing, though. Like, I'm thinking.
Nah, man, I'm telling you, man, if you hip roll, the hip roll is because you can transition. And I do games, too. So I take like 30 lollipops. And if I hang up on him, I get a phone call, 310-473 something.
You stay that long. So, so she said, me and my husband. So she didn't just leave with herself. Because in court, they were saying she was...
Okay. So as I'm explaining, look, I got to go to the barber. She's like, look, we'll give you $1,500 if you come right now. I said,
wait, let's stop right there. So she said, me and my husband. So she didn't just leave with herself. Because in court, they were saying she would say... She would say, my husband, I'm having a...
So as I'm explaining, look, I gotta go to the barber. She's like, look, we'll give you $1,500 if you come right now. I said,
wait, let's stop right there. So she said, me and my husband. So she didn't just leave with herself. Because in court, they were saying she would say her. And then she would say, my husband, I'm having a birthday party. She would trick the men that way. So she was in front with you and said, me and my husband think you fine as hell.
So Jules, so now they're not, unless Jules own Cowboys and Angels, Jules, who already do these freak offs with he one of the, you know, number one. He been to London, he go out the country, he give, you know, all these special trips. He calls him at 3-4 o'clock in the morning on behalf. So it ain't like Diddy and Cassie went through the proper protocol. So here go this enterprise again. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Because this is a guy that I've already been dancing with like 4 or 5 years. So
but he a part of the organization.
I don't even know how long he was working with him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because, you know, so they
might not. He messed with him before too. Because I think he got brought up in court too. I think Jules sounds familiar.
Yeah, Jules, absolutely. Yeah. He traveled,
but not the Jules, not the Jules from that from the Showtime.
No, was Jules. I feel like Jules was mentioned in court, but I don't know if it was the same Jules. But there was a Jules mentioned in court as an escort. But go ahead.
That's Jules.
That's Jules.
So she was like, fuck what you talking about, $1,500, you come right now. I'm like, man, send me the address. I'm out. My bag, when I get home, I'm a real professional. I wash everything. Everything is ready to go. So I get up, brushing my teeth and shit. I'm telling the chick, I'm like, yo, I'm about to go make some money. She's like, what? I don't even say nothing else. Grab my bag, I'm down the stairs. So she started calling me, blowing me up. I turned the phone on silent. As I'm exiting, what is it? I lived in Long Beach, Lakewood at the time, so I had to take the 405 to the 110 to the 10.
So this is in California.
When I exit La Cienega, I get a text. I'm assuming from Cassie, because she asked me to bring baby oil, Johnson & Johnson specifically.
So and this wouldn't work.
Vaseline.
This is Vaseline.
Nah,
cocoa butter.
You can't even get in the door, nigga. If it ain't Johnson & Johnson, but hey, They were well, she was specific. She said, if it ain't Johnson & Johnson, don't come. I'm like, bitch, I just drove 40 fucking minutes.
Wait a minute. And this is 3 in the morning, and she said,
so
you better
by
bring
that time,
Johnson &
it
Johnson.
was like 5 a.m. by that time. So I'm literally like 10 minutes away, because the first time I saw them, I didn't go to a hotel. I went to like a condo on Doheny, like 424. I don't want to dox them, but it was.
We know the address. We know the Doheny address. It's all in court documents.
Yeah. But so that was the first. It was on the 14th floor, and I remember I could see the Beverly Center. I could see Cedar Sinai, and I'm like, damn, these niggas paid.
Wait, before you wait, we just skipped over the oil. So did you go to get the oil?
Oh yeah. So when I got off the freeway, I'm driving down. I'm like, damn, where am I gonna get some oil at right now?
Cause wait, she said if you don't have Johnson & Johnson, don't come. So you was like, I gotta go get this oil.
So luckily, it's a CVS on the way to Beverly Hills on La Cienega, 24 hours. So I went in there.
Y'all finna go. I got
bottles of cocoa butter Johnson & Johnson I could find. I'm talking about nigga.
Travel can be a nightmare.
Yeah, I gotta go and charge up my phone just in case they have a verdict tonight. But do you see Joel's is in there? I wonder why he didn't. He was probably one of the witnesses that didn't show up, along with Gina, who popped out today. I'm trying to do before I go. Let me double check and see ain't nothing else that popped out. So where was Jules? Why
we got her. We got Queen Elizabeth Milner, long crime.
Why Jules didn't pop up and testify on behalf of Diddy? Why? Because of cross-examination. If would have known Diddy was using so much baby oil, I'd about stopped. Me too. Shit. They said he's strong on. Well, no, he was into that glass stuff. Okay, y'all. I'll be back later. His name is Flash. Flashlight.
Hey, Costello.
He the one. Oh, I want y'all to hear. Hold on. Oh yeah, Diddy told him. His DICK better be hard. I said what? Cause he wouldn't enter her. He wouldn't entertain her without no protection.
Quickest shower you ever took. Okay. Go ahead. And what is Diddy doing now?
Busting. Then he starts commentating again, asking her like, so you want that nigga to come on your face or come on your stomach? Feeling it. If I got the type of energy, I'm not gonna. Man, I don't press these hoes at all. There's no way. Because I don't. First of all, I don't want to be in this situation. Second of all, or she just ain't had it before. I don't know. Tell me everything. She's like, it's okay. And so I'm like, all right, I got you. The nigga half up, half dressed.
Check, but keep going with the story.
So thankfully it was the ecstasy joint. So they got the extra lube on them. So I'm able to play with my shit. But
this is
as I'm getting it on, I'm getting it going. This nigga just starts going like overtime. It's like pow pow, and I'm just hearing him like, bro, I'm hearing him. He's beating his dick so hard, and I'm sitting there, and it's so distracting. And I'm like, I got this fine ass like bitch in front of me, and finally, after a minute, I'm half mast. I'm getting it in, but it ain't like. I'm
trying to get to the point. Leave all the real. Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not used to a nigga just over here just beating his meat while I'm trying to knock the chick down. Like, I'm facing that way. And the pussy's not very good to where, nigga, I'm blinded. No, nigga, I don't press these hoes at all.
I can't get it because I don't want to hear. I heard all this.
So that shit, that shit Pompeii there, nigga.
Wait. So Diddy said.
I wanted to hear when he gave him instructions that, and he came out of a trap door. Hold on.
Trap door.
He came out of a trap door and popped out behind him.
I'm facing that way. And the pussy's not very good to where, nigga, I'm blinded. No, nigga, you got a trap door. The nigga has a trap door in the house, bro. He ended up behind me.
He just appeared. You know he does that. That nigga just comes out of nowhere and appears on niggas.
Like the leprechaun. Like the leprechaun beating this shit again, nigga. And I'm sitting there.
So he left one way out the front, but then he didn't. But then he appeared behind you
again.
Ooh.
After I'm
he didn't try to take your ass. But go ahead.
He was sitting down. So
okay, yeah, I'll be back. I gotta charge my phone. There's some crazy stuff going on. This is he gotta go to jail. He got to go to prison, y'all. Cause if not, he is going to continue with this, whatever this is. It's beyond a fetish. It is. I don't want to buy into that Illuminati stuff. Cause I don't know. Diddy on some whole bunch of other stuff, but all I know is the people ain't safe. People's daughters, sisters, cousins, none of the females that, you know, that he can get to do anything strange for a piece of change. And they will lure you, seduce you there to bring your hopes and dreams. And then they get there and then 4 or 5 people pop out of trap doors that you don't know nothing about. And they standing there with they sausage. And what you gonna do? What you gonna do? How you gonna get home? Oh, you know, I'm telling you, I'm just so thankful. These close calls. Jay-Z and LeBron. Well, it sounds like Fat Joe next. But I wouldn't be surprised. I ain't gonna even lie. I wouldn't be surprised that whatever the verdict is, shortly after, especially if he get found not guilty. If he get found not guilty, I would not be surprised if them laws, the feds, ain't there, right there, like you see on TV and say, John Combs, we have a warrant for your arrest, and turn right back around and rearrest him on something else to keep his ass locked up. Because there's too many other pieces of this puzzle that they could have lumped it all together and got it over with, and they didn't. That's why all the other lawsuits and criminal and civil lawsuits is on pause until they see what happens here. They always saying ain't nothing like a Diddy party until this popped up, because they've gotten away with it, what, for 20 years? 20 years. Okay, y'all, let me charge my phone up. Let me give me something to eat, and we'll be ready for the evening update. Y'all have a good one. Please hit the like button. Bye.